Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We are doing something new and different and nerve-wracking today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. First of all, I'm echoing in my own ear. We are doing something which is gonna...
Yeah, no, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It might not have been your fault. It could have been mine. But I think I'm good now. I'm not echoing in my own ears anymore, at least. We're going to be talking about MKUltra today and the mind and mind control and finding the perfect Manchurian candidate and this hearing that apparently happened recently that is about all of that, maybe? I don't know. We haven't actually watched it yet. But I'm here today with TropicalStuck.
Hello.
Another excellent content creator on the internet.
You flattered me,
an author, if you will. And yeah, hello everyone. Hello ZB, hello Zombie, hello Lexi and Guto and Hulkzilla and Sophia and Fedora Swag and Ogden. By the way, I loved your parasocial ASMR commentary vid. It was so thought-provoking. Yay, good, I'm glad. All right. How are you today, Tropical?
I'm quite good. I'm ready. I've been purposely avoiding any sort of this because I've been avoiding it for the sake of the stream, actually.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have like a full moment of just like, oh man, that's what's going on. So I'm excited to have I don't know, my mind blown. Is that the correct is that the correct word?
Maybe your mind will be washed. Brainwashing.
My mind will be washed.
Yes.
I'm very excited for that. I could use a good brainwashing.
So brainwashing actually came out of like part of the origin story of MKUltra has to do with the word brainwashing, because the CIA was afraid that the communist side of the world was brainwashing people, and that's like where that word came from. And so then the CIA was like, oh well, if China's doing it, we better figure it out.
And then they did question mark.
They perhaps did. Maybe not, maybe so. Anyway, are you ready to hit play on this video?
Yes, very.
Okay, excellent. And chat, y'all let us know if all of the volume sounds good between me and Tropical and the video, because I'm new at this. I'm new at managing all of these different volume things, so please let me know.
Likewise.
Okay.
Of federal secrets will come to order. Welcome everyone.
That's too fast. I'm gonna need a warm up.
Barely hear it.
I'm gonna need a warm up to the 2x speed.
Okay. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. I recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement. This hearing is about the crimes committed by the Central Intelligence Agency against the American citizens and the decades of secrecy used to conceal them.
Can you hear? Okay?
The American people deserve a complete and truthful record.
Yeah.
Okay.
The victims and their families deserve acknowledgement, and this Congress has a constitutional obligation to ensure that full declassification is not delayed any longer. Project MKUltra was not a policy failure or an overzealous program that got out of hand. It was a deliberate, systematic governmental operation that subjected American citizens, prisoners, hospital patients, veterans, ordinary people
to
LSD, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, psychological torture without their knowledge or consent. This went on for 20 years on American soil, funded by American taxpayer dollars. And
exactly what she just said. This went on for 20 years, this MKUltra program.
Yeah.
Part of the big question, part of one of my big questions is that, you know, we know confirmed as part of the MKUltra project, it had like predecessors. There was Project Artichoke and Bluebird and MK
I heard
something
about Bluebird.
else. Yeah. And so another part of the question is just like, okay, so the MKUltra project finished. It very may well still be going on just under a different name, that and none of the documents have been declassified for whatever it is now, you know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
But we don't know.
And
the American government
by the very
things?
top of U.S. intelligence apparatus. And this program, when it did end, the men who ran it did not cooperate with investigators. They did not come forward. They committed another crime. They destroyed evidence. The documents this task force has reviewed are unambiguous. In January 1973, the director of the CIA, Richard Helms, prepared to leave office. He personally ordered the destruction of MKUltra records. The CIA official document in writing states, over my stated objectives, the MKUltra files were destroyed by the order of DCI Mr. Helms shortly before his departure from office. A separate internal account confirms that Helms telephoned Dr. Gottlieb directly and instructed him to destroy, quote, all files pertaining to drug research and associated activities. Gottlieb compiled 4 people, spent an entire day tearing, burning down 152 files. Then Gottlieb had his personal papers destroyed by his secretary before he retired. The head of the CIA-owned Records Center protested the destruction in writing, but he was overruled. That is obstruction of justice. That is criminal destruction of federal records, and neither individuals were ever charged with a crime for it. Helms received a $2,000 fine for lying to Congress about an unrelated matter and collected his government pension until he died. Gottlieb retired in rural Virginia and wrote poetry. No one went to prison. No victim was ever formally compensated by the government for the harm that they caused. By 1975, the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission had already established through sworn testimony and the surviving 1963 Inspector General report that MKUltra existed and that the CIA had run a program of human experimentation on unwitting Americans. The scope and detail of what we know today is largely because of an accident. In 1977, an archivist diligently complying with a FOIA request discovered 7 boxes of MKUltra financial records that had been misfiled and escaped the bonfire. Those 7 boxes included the names of institutions, the name of subprojects, the researchers who participated, the specific operation that the CIA had funded, and without them, the vast majority of MKUltra would only be a rumor, just as Helms and Gottlieb intended. Those 7 boxes revealed that MKUltra comprised at least 149 subprojects, operated across more than 80 institutions, and involved 185 non-government researchers. They revealed that the CIA covertly contributed $375,000 to a hospital research wing, which was approved directly by DCI Alan Dulles, which Richard Helms' concurrence, so the agency could use unwitting patients as experimental subjects in what their own documents called a hospital safe house. The CIA Inspector General said in
pause and comment on how this ended up in the public record in the first place, like all just by a very diligent archivist.
Yeah, I mean, so from what I understand, a lot of the stuff that was declassified so obviously they destroyed a lot of their records on purpose. A lot of the reason why it ended up being declassified at all is because some of the first documents that were found were banknotes, basically. They hadn't gotten rid of
financial documents.
Yeah. And I think it is another good example of how important it is to preserve everything when you have the privilege of being able to preserve everything, whenever it comes to these involvement with these crazy organizations. And more importantly, I think it's just important to remember how easily things get forgotten. And no matter how many people there are who say, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, the historical record doesn't tend to care unless there's a paper trail. Unless there's evidence. And we hear this a lot as well with it reminds me of stories about the victims of the Titanic, who of course had lots of stories about what happened to them. And for so many years, their stories were considered invalid because there wasn't evidence to prove it or whatever. And one of those things is that the people on the Titanic, I think it's that they said that the lights were on. They insisted that the lights were on the entire time. And scientists and and it might have been the opposite of this. Scientists and engineers said, no, there's impossible. There's a collective delusion, clearly, that the lights were on. But relatively recently, they dug up some important part of the Titanic and they realized that it makes sense for the lights to have been on for all this time. And it's just there have been hundreds of these people who have been tortured by the CIA, and they've been telling stories, and they've been telling the stories this whole time, and everyone's been calling them crazy.
Yeah. How do you feel about it being the American government to its own people? Including not only just prisoners, people in hospitals, but also as it relates to people, kids in universities.
Yeah, no,
because Kinszer was famously,
huh? I feel pretty bad about it. I don't like that.
It feels like and I know because I'll relate it to World War II, and well, there was a lot of obfuscation there, especially as it related to Japan. A
Yeah.
lot of people tried to get rid of documents, but
Yeah.
the Germans were very good at keeping documents, and the Japanese were very good at Japanese as a language was um I don't think is like there weren't as many translators back then.
Mm-hmm.
And also, on top of that, it was like very much like they knew to obfuscate everything, and also they were just like, "Here's our documentation, America. You can have our not our government." I mean, technically, kind of, yeah. They just slapped like they slapped the Japanese version of the Constitution on Japan post World War II, but
Right.
essentially everyone who's still in power was in like the imperial dynasty and or court at that point in time. So, how much has really changed? The last names are still the same, but
Right.
there were a lot of cover-ups, but also it was almost well, it wasn't exclusively because there were some Japanese what's the correct victims,
Yeah.
but they were often like people who were stuck in like it was often um people who were no longer useful to the state, so they were put into these awful situations, and so like they were you know given put into these horrible experiments like how long can someone survive having gonorrhea if they were literally one of the original like doctors working on actually having like a certain STD. Like they would give it to prisoners of war,
Yeah.
but if like one of the researchers got infected with it, they would now be added to the experiments.
Yeah.
So but it's very like it seems as though almost exclusively here we have a case of predominantly the state enacting violence upon its own citizen.
Right. Well, I
And
mean,
it's not a time of war, but unless you count the Cold War, but
yeah, I mean, I think, while MKUltra was happening and also through the 2000s after MKUltra, there were other government programs that were doing, experiments, psychological, physical, torture, whatever, on prisoners of war and on other foreign people. That just wasn't
yeah.
what MKUltra did.
Yeah.
So it's definitely happened to citizens and non-citizens, and I think it's bad for both. I think maybe these things shouldn't happen at all. That's how I
Well, how
feel.
else will we advance science?
I don't think we
Right,
need to advance
Armstrong was
science in that particular direction.
you don't think we need to have
uh,
more biowarfare?
no, no. I think that I don't think we need any more warfare at all, which I think is one of my probably most controversial takes at all. It's just like I bite the bullet of
I
being
love this take of yours
anti-war.
actually.
Yeah, just
I
no
think this
no
is a great
war.
take.
War bad.
War bad.
Yeah,
Hot take, war bad.
it is. It's surprisingly hot.
In 1963, his classified report concluded that the program had exceeded the agency's legal chapter, and covert testing on unwitting subjects placed the rights and interests of U.S. citizens in jeopardy. The program ran for a decade that we know of, and they ignored their own watchdog.
That we know of.
Let me be clear what I believe that we are dealing with here. Administering drugs to people without their knowledge or consent, subjecting humans to psychological torture, and using prisoners and hospital patients as non-consenting research subjects. These are crimes against humanity. The Central Intelligence Agency committed them, and then the director of the CIA was ordering the destruction of evidence. Today, we will hear from two witnesses who have spent years unraveling the cover-up that our government ordered. Stephen Kinszer documented the life and crimes of Sidney Gottlieb in his book, Prisoner of Chief, and Tom O'Neill spent over 20 years investigating what the CIA buried and what they obscured that, in my mind, constitute some of the worst notorious crimes against humanity in the 20th century. Their persistence in the research in this hearing is possible simply because they are patriots. The American people deserve the complete record. The victims and their families deserve acknowledgement, accountability, and justice. And this Congress has a constitutional obligation to make sure that the CIA never does this again. With that, I'm going to be opening up first questions, and I'll hold my questions to the end to Representative Burleson. But before I do pass it, I did want to just note, a few weeks ago, we did receive reports. There was some back and forth regarding the CIA and ODNI pertaining to new MKUltra boxes that were discovered. Myself and Representative Burleson did go down to Langley. We did meet with the CIA, and the CIA is currently in the process of declassifying newly found documentation, although the documents, and I feel comfortable enough to share here, pertain specifically to a forgery program that was being housed under MKUltra. So as soon as those files are released, we will be putting out notification with your help to also comb through some of the newly released documents, but I did want to give you a quick update. Without further ado, I would like to now recognize Representative Eric Burleson for his questions.
Sorry, can we pause really quick?
Yes.
Oh, did you want to go? Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no,
go.
you first, and then I'll say what I'm thinking.
Okay. So first and foremost, the one thing that I've heard about this consistently is that they asked the lamest questions ever. It's related to all of this. And also, is that guy in the back laughing?
Is he? I didn't even notice.
I released documents.
I
can't see.
Without further ado, I would like to
Yeah.
I would like to now recognize.
He's probably just talking to someone.
I would like to.
He's just having a good time.
Yeah, he's just having a conversation with someone off screen.
What did you want to say?
Oh yeah, I was thinking about so I think the obvious okay, so I've been listening to this academic recently named Ada Palmer. I absolutely love her work. I've been like binging like every podcast that I can find her name on. She's so smart, and mainly she talks about medieval Europe, but recently a lot of her work has been about censorship, just throughout history, talking about censorship. And thinking about the CIA, like deleting all these documents, burning all these documents, losing all these documents. This is obviously like a form of censorship. And so I'm kind of thinking about the stuff that she has put in my brain, Ada Palmer, in like the past couple weeks. And one thing that she always talks about, or not always, but that she's mentioned, is that the censors of anything, whenever it's like a big organized censorship effort in the way that I think that this is, although I'm not really sure, it could just be individuals, but these big organized like censorship efforts, the people who enact them tend to really believe that they are doing something good, that they are protecting people from something. That's why the Inquisition censored people. That's why YouTube has censorship laws and Facebook has censorship laws. Generally, it's like with good intentions. We want to protect the people from bad ideas, right?
How to make a bomb. How to make a nuclear reactor.
Yeah, exactly. And if I am to think about this in good faith, it makes me wonder, like, what is the possible good faith reason to be like deleting or erasing these MKUltra documents? And it's hard for me to take it in good faith, because my instinct, my intuition is just like, these are selfish people, selfish, psychopathic, evil people who tortured innocent victims, and they don't want to be held responsible for it. That's what I think I kind of actually believe. But almost
that's where my head goes as well. And maybe we should dissect that a little bit, because it's like to an extent, I'm sure with this amount of people involved, statistically, it's unlikely that all of them were, in our definition of like what we want to ascribe as evil here.
Right.
I think that realistically, there were probably some people involved in this that just genuinely thought like, oh, maybe remote viewing is something that the public should not know how to do.
Right.
But
right. Or maybe like they're protecting, they had to run the experiments so that Russia doesn't do it first, and they had to delete it so that Russia doesn't find it.
But then also that's like still putting it into like the human knowledge.
Yeah,
unless it's like to mitigate it in some sort of way, which I don't think that they ever attempted to do. They weren't trying to mitigate or like destroy that knowledge so that other countries couldn't get it. It was like so that the American populace wouldn't find out.
Right.
So I don't think that it would be to counteract foreign intelligence, but I do think that perhaps maybe they thought they were protecting the American populace from perhaps feeling unsafe in their own country. Because to my knowledge, I don't know of any other countries that have done this sort of level of, I mean, that's untrue. I
think
don't
they
think
have.
it as
I
yeah.
don't know.
I think there are other,
but I think they have.
I think there are other countries that have. But definitely it's more to like a specific either class or ethnicity, not ethnicity, like
Minority or something.
race of people, yeah, minority within their own populace, but it's never been like so like not undiscerning, but like, you know, targeting university students at because
Right.
Kaczynski
Right.
famously was in one of these experiments and was like I believe mathematics PhD.
Yeah.
So just like you're targeting essentially what would be some of the most beneficial like citizens you could have also for these experiments. So I find that quite interesting and odd. And also just like to what benefit?
Yep.
So it does kind of put into question like who was trying to achieve what with this? And if that was in those documents at all. I mean, aside from just like general human knowledge, because we are unfortunately little curious apes, but like to the extent in which we did it to people that were citizens of like the country. I don't know if there's another country that's also done something to the same extent, and maybe chat can like
Right.
enlighten
Well,
me.
Destructicon has made a very good point. They said they did it to stop at the Demogorgon and the Mind Flayer from attacking 11 and the Stranger Things gang, which I do think that tracks. That tracks.
Yeah, that tracks.
Damn Taffer says Russia, Germany, and the UK to an extent are known to have done similar-ish things. Yeah, I think you know, I don't want to make any accusations against countries, but I feel like probably China.
China, yeah, but I think definitely to minorities.
Yeah.
Like the Muslim minority that they have as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also I think the same thing as it relates to we're never, to my knowledge, also targeting people in like essentially what would be later on positions of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just find it quite odd.
Right, right. Yeah, I know there are some people who theorize as well that these types of mind control experiments used to also be like initiation rituals for a lot of like for like Egyptian rulers like in the ancient days. And it was for a similar reason, like trying to create a Manchurian candidate, you know, trying to create a perfect puppet king for whoever was actually in power. Um, I don't think that there's very much evidence for that, but there's also not very much evidence against it because we're talking about like 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly, you know, dubious
I mean, also
bits
like
of evidence.
excavation efforts.
Yeah.
Uh, what is the name of the person who does the museum presentation of like Egyptology? It's not a
The
museum
person,
curator.
like a
Like
specific
someone who
person?
is I forgot the name of the role. It's escaping me right now because we're but essentially like one of them was you know doing treatments on Egyptian mummies and found just absurd amounts of nicotine and also like traces of cocaine on them. And it's
Interesting.
like nicotine it screams because it was also I believe in the UK or was it Russia? But it might have been Russia. But it was like kind of just like a little goofy because it seemed more like it was a more recent event.
Right, right.
And so it was a contamination of like these century-old bodies,
Yeah.
but she tried to play it off and make an entire effort. So uh,
Yeah.
essentially like they like she because she genuinely believes that mummies were smoking nicotine at this point in time. Like having some form of nicotine, even though it was not to my knowledge like actually available there except for a specific type of plant that was available in I think like somewhere south of Egypt,
Huh.
but it wasn't very well known.
Yeah.
And also it wasn't very powerful, especially not to the extent that she found in these exhumed bodies.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. going back to what we were saying about like the motives of the censors in this situation, I think it's really, like, the thing that would make the difference for me is answering the question of how many people were involved in, like, getting rid of the documents. Because if it is just, like, one, you know, individual scientists who have all of their research privately and they're employed by the CIA or whatever, and they're part of the MKUltra program, which is kind of the story that We're in Hell, that channel, whenever they were talking about, because I watched their video on MKUltra recently as well, which came out like 3 months ago. The channel is We're in Hell, and the video is something like, I think it's everything. It's called Everything We Know About MKUltra, and it's really, really good. I mean, it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's like a 4-hour video, and it goes through everything, and it's a very personal story. Like, he's going through different individual stories, and it does kind of make it sound like there are just these wacko scientists who are kind of like psychopaths in the pop culture sense, where they just don't care and have no empathy and get off on torturing people and power. And if that's the case, and it really is just like this kind of small group of individuals who have their research documents, and then they're burning them and deleting them so that they can maintain their power, their position, their money, whatever it is, then it makes me think that it's not, they don't have any there's no good faith to, like, that I can offer to these people.
Yeah.
But if it is like an entire class of people who are trying to protect the sheeple, if you will, then that changes things for me when it comes to the amount of, like, good faith that I'm willing to offer. And I also always want to caution myself against seeing history as a thing where any acts like this can be anomalous. Like, and, you know, when we list countries who may have had similar programs, we're not listing evil countries. We're listing countries that have access to the resources that make this possible. Any country that, like, can do this, it seems like they have. And so, like, what does that mean? These are not just anomalous psychopaths. There's, like, something is deeply wrong.
So there's a fundamental human curiosity that ignores the humanity of others, and to perhaps, like, I don't know, that would take it into, like, more philosophical conversation, but I don't know. And also, it seems to be so prevalent in history. We tend to humanize and dehumanize very easily.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, have you heard of the book Caliban and the Witch?
Nah.
Oh my God. So I read that book whenever I was in my undergrad, and it was one of the most, like, formative books for me ever. Politically, I think. Like, it was one of the first, like, really deep political deep dives that I ever read front to back. And it's about the witch burnings in Europe. That's, like, mainly what it's about. And it's like a Marxist analysis. It was my first Marxist analysis.
Oh wait, yeah, you explained that you read this to me.
Yeah, and it was super good. And it was probably, like, the most annotated book I ever had. Like, I had so many scribblings and notes and, like, little things in it, and then I let someone borrow it and they never returned it, and then they lost it, and it broke my heart. I still feel sad. I still feel sad.
Well,
I haven't even, like,
as a gift.
Yeah, one day I need to get another copy of it and annotate it even more. Because, yeah, it was so good. It's such a good book. But one of, like, the main points in that book is just that we cannot view the witch burnings as, like, a crazy anomalous thing where some Protestants just, like, lost their minds and started burning women, because it was tens of thousands of women across all of Europe. There were political motivations for this. And like it wasn't just psychopaths, and it wasn't just crazy women, and it wasn't just crazy men. It was much more complicated, and it makes me think that we need to think about all of this. If all of this is just happening in every government around the world where it can happen, then we can't view these people as just like anomalous bad guys that had too much power and money in their hands. There's like a structural critique that should be made, and I haven't figured out how to do it, but someone will.
Well, hey, maybe you'll be the one.
No, I doubt it. I'm too busy making ASMR. We'll see.
Real.
Representative Eric Burleson for his questions. Go ahead. Without objection, Representative Perry and Representative Higgins from Pennsylvania and Louisiana is waived on to the committee for the purpose of questioning the witnesses at today's subcommittee hearing.
Louisiana? Represent.
And I'd like to
Louisiana?
now recognize Dr. Kinszer and the witnesses for the opening statements. I have to swear them in.
What are they doing?
Stephen Kinszer is a historian, journalist, and author of Poisoner-in-Chief, Sidney Gottlieb, and the CIA's Search for Mind Control.
Poisoner-in-Chief.
Tom O'Neill is an
Good
investigative
title.
journalist who authored Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. And Elizabeth Genexy, did I say that right, ma'am? Genexy is an independent consultant and former senior program officer at the National Institute of Health. We look forward to hearing what you have to say today on this important subject. Pursuant to Committee Rules 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Thank you. You may now take your seat. We appreciate you being here today. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your opening statements, and it will appear in full in the hearing record. Please limit your oral statements to 5 minutes. However, if it does go over, we will not be gaveling you out. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it is illuminated and members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you again will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow, and when the red light comes on, that means that your 5 minutes has expired, and we will ask you to please wrap it up.
Okay, I have a slightly like unrelated tangent line of questioning. So
Go for it.
I sometimes think that people would be more politically engaged and activated in a way that might spark positive change if stuff like this was a little bit more like sensationalized, like if there were just like more colors and like
Perhaps.
and if the button that people are pressing had like little like had like a meme sound and like little like sparks came out of it and stuff like that. And then I
Bring back the sins of slopification
Yeah.
to the courtroom.
Yes. And every time that I start thinking in my head, like, oh, I kind of wish this was like a little bit more like Netflixified or whatever, I remember that like the Hunger Games exists, and that is what happens in the Hunger Games. And then I'm like, but maybe that's something they got right. and I'm like, no.
Well, to lead it into a sort of if TikTok buys C-SPAN, what? I think just in the corner. I don't know if you've ever seen 'cause in America how we have like CNN, like Fox News, NBC. It's like a pretty plain screen. Like you can focus very easily on whoever's speaking. In Canada, that's not the case. There's like a screen with like several elements to it. There's like stocks always on there. There's like what's going on with the weather. The first time I saw it, I was like very overwhelmed because I was like, wait a minute, this feels like Japanese television that I'm looking at. Like, why is there all this
Right.
like? Why are there several things going on? It feels like I'm on Temu.
Right.
So do you want to bring that to the courtroom?
Maybe just a little bit. I just want like it doesn't need to be chaotic. It doesn't need to like attack your attention span, but I think I just want more effort put into the theatrics of it all. I want it to be a little bit more theatrical. Okay. I want people I want some better interior design. I want better costumes, you know?
Make everyone dress up for the occasion, but not in business. It has to be like a theme, like whatever the theme is.
Yes.
For MKUltra, they have to dress up as
monarch butterflies. They have to dress up as butterflies.
Monarch butterflies. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Butterflies and bluebirds.
Artichokes.
And artichokes, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so this is going to be whenever we get some new people, some new cast members.
I would now like to recognize Stephen Kinszer for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude.
He looks like
to
a
this task
Louisiana
force for
man.
confronting
I don't know.
the
I
enormous
think this
issue
is
of
the Louisiana
overclassification
guy.
of
That's the
government
Louisiana man if
documents
I've ever
and the
seen
culture
one.
of secrecy
Yeah.
that enables it. I'm especially
That was not a
gratified by your
Louisiana
interest in MKUltra, the project the CIA carried out through the 1950s in an attempt to find the secret of mind control. MKUltra was one of the most secret government programs in American history. The chemist who directed it, Sidney Gottlieb, lived in total anonymity. My book, Poisoner in Chief, may be the most complete account of MKUltra that exists in public, but I'm painfully aware that I have discovered only a small portion of what MKUltra was and what Sidney Gottlieb did. In 1951, the CIA hired Gottlieb and directed him to launch what became MKUltra. Gottlieb believed that in order to find a way to implant a new mind into someone's brain, you first had to find a way to destroy the mind that was in there already. In its search for ways to destroy a human mind and body, MKUltra conducted the most extreme experiments on human beings that have ever been carried out by a US government agency. By any standard, they qualify as medical torture. These
Wait,
experiments took place.
can you pause really quick?
Mm-hmm.
Why was it ever specified why the conclusion was that you had to destroy the mind that previously existed to create a new mind?
I remember consuming that information at some point, and I think it was basically trial and error. Like, I think they had tried to just do mind control with an intact mind, and it didn't work for a very long time.
Mhm.
And so then they concluded that they needed to try to break the mind. And I don't think that ever worked either.
I don't think so either.
Which I think this is also part of why people say, like, okay, well, Gottlieb was just an evil, insane guy who was obsessed with LSD. Because, like, why is that the conclusion he came to? Sounds like he just maybe wanted to break people's brains.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a little bit too. It feels like it's just reaching, because was it ever successfully done?
So, no, as far as we know.
But also he's saying that he only discovered like
Exactly.
a small amount of the information that was
Exactly.
actually.
So everything that it has been declassified, everything that we know indicates that basically this was fruitless, pointless medical torture. Yeah. Everything that we don't know is either like, wow, the CIA is inept and funded a psychopath, and psychopath just went around ruined people's lives for decades. That's like one version of what we don't know, is how inept the CIA is. And then the other version, yeah, and then the other version is like, everything that has been declassified for some kind of controlled reason, and the CIA isn't declassifying what it doesn't want to declassify. And in those documents, we would find out that, of course, they cracked the code of creating the Manchurian Candidate, and the Manchurian Candidate is probably Mark Zuckerberg, like,
well, I mean, he's making a lot of other Manchurian candidates.
Yeah,
one could
exactly.
say.
He's the node that seeds out more.
It's very interesting.
Nodes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems as though it failed in a lot of instances. Also,
because I think that the question is, like, who would the CIA be wanting to make puppet kings out of right now? And it might be the case that, these people who own massive tech platforms are potentially more globally influential than people like presidents, and maybe people in Congress and whatever are people who the CIA would be interested in making Manchurian candidates out of. But also, quite possibly, maybe it's just people, it's just plants, maybe they just plant people into power.
Well, I
And
mean,
these
I
are
don't think it's difficult to find people who will be in power, just out of looking at assets or
yeah.
familial ties. But also, do you want to explain for the audience just like what a Manchurian candidate is?
Sure. I mean, I hope I understand what it is. It's just it is a puppet king.
Yeah.
It's someone who does everything that the CIA wants them to do perfectly.
Just kind of a scary concept. I
Yeah,
think they
like
were
they're
trying
fully
to
mind
accomplish something.
controlled. I
Yeah.
should specify. It's like it's they're this the Manchurian candidate is neither willing nor unwilling because they have no will. They are basically an automaton whose brain has been completely fried and is now implanted with the perfect CIA brain, and they just act out whatever the CIA wants them to act out. Yeah.
I have some people in chat talking about
Mhm.
how there's inception, peripheral clues, until the target thinks it was their own idea,
Mm,
says Anthony Repetto. And also
right.
talking about cults. Wait, sorry. Now I'm catching up with chat, and there's a lot of there's a lot going on that
Yeah.
I missed. Oops. Um. Uh. False flash mobs didn't require mind control. Influence campaigns work better. Hey. Uh. In general, by altering emotional associations and value systems of targets so that they want to serve. That is an interesting premise. Instead of puppet kings being like technocrats, perhaps being influencers.
Yeah, that is an interesting one.
Ooh. This is getting spicy. Okay, shall we continue?
We shall continue.
Clinics and safe houses in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, and even in Latin America. Officers of MKUltra were authorized to travel to foreign countries, preferably those under formal or informal U.S. occupation, and ask the local CIA station to provide them with expendables, human beings who would not be missed if they disappeared. Gottlieb had what amounted to a license to kill, issued by the U.S. government. Neither the number of MKUltra victims nor the number of those who were experimented to death is known. Gottlieb, as a result of this license to kill, might have been the most powerful unknown American of the 20th century. Some information about MKUltra spilled out during the 1970s, but senior CIA officers had intentionally let Gottlieb operate without supervision, so they were able to claim that they knew nothing about his excesses. This was a way for the CIA to deny its institutional role in MKUltra and to portray it misleadingly as the product of one man's sadism or excessive zeal. Investigating MKUltra is challenging because when Gottlieb and his mentor Richard Helms left the CIA in 1973, they illegally ordered that its records be destroyed. Soon afterwards, under DCI Stansfield Turner, a CIA analyst, as you pointed out, Madam Chairman, discovered a cache of MKUltra documents hidden among financial records. Turner credited that analyst with doing a very diligent job of Sherlock Holmesing. That same diligence, I believe, could bring
A very diligent job of Sherlock Holmes. I hope I get that title one day.
That's the kind of theatricality I need constantly.
Yeah.
Diligent job of Sherlock Holmesing. That
Sherlock
same diligence, I
Holmes.
believe, could bring results today. One of the great mysteries of MKUltra has to do with the death in 1953 of an MKUltra scientist, Frank Olson, who had announced his intention to quit the project. His plunge from a New York hotel room was described in the press as the suicide of an Army scientist. He was not an Army scientist. He worked for the CIA, and evidence suggests that his death may not have been a suicide. So there could be hidden documents that could illuminate this case. I would also point out that in addition to searching for unknown documents, this committee could do a tremendous service by simply asking for the end of redactions on the documents that we now have. There are reams of documents.
I'm perhaps sillily like empathizing with this man right now. I feel like I can tell from his body language how nervous he is. And I'm just thinking about the fact that this man is an author and he's like he's not a congressman. He's an author of a book, of a research book about one of the scariest things in the world that happened in his own country, by his own country, to its own citizens. And like, I feel like whenever he did this, I could like, I don't know if it was actually visual or if it was just somewhere in his tension, but I feel like I could empathize with like his, like the adrenaline, like running through his body. And I'm so nervous for him. Like, I hope that he presented this up to his own standards.
It seems like he brought the theatricality, the theatricality.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, you can see it in his shoulders though. He seems tense, but also it's probably like the first time that he's had an actual like large enough platform to actually get this information out there that it seems like the entire world might be noticing.
Right.
I have someone in chat saying, the only thing I knew about MKUltra was Subproject 68 in the case of the iatrogenic misconduct and the harm it caused in psychology, which I don't know about, Doyle, if you want to expand upon that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know anything.
But yeah, I think it's also like whenever you are an author, and I'm not an author, but I can imagine whenever you spend so much time writing about something, you can't help but get emotional. And I'm sure that there's points where you become desensitized to it because you've been writing about it for years, and then there's points where all of a sudden it hits you and you like get really emotional. And now it's like, now he's not just writing about it, now he's in court, and he probably feels like this is the most important thing he has ever done or ever will do in disseminating this incredibly important knowledge. And I can't imagine the amount of pressure that he's putting himself under. But I am imagining it by accident. And it's just making me feel nervous for this guy. Yeah, I just wanted to share my feeling.
No, it was an attempt to rebuild a personality through things like drug-induced comas and repeated messages played back on loop. Oh. That's interesting.
I think I have heard a little bit about that. Yeah. Yeah.
All it caused was amnesia and dissociative symptoms that last the rest of their lives. That's awful.
Yeah. There were a couple of Gottlieb's victims that were incapacitated for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
And then I have John saying cultists are good examples of what I call brainwashing, rewiring someone's brain to less permanently operate within your own contrived self-serving framing. I mean, to an extent, John, I think you're correct, but I don't think it's so much as like the actual definition of brainwashing. Woo! Thank you for the follow. That was really loud. Of what we perceive, like what we're calling brainwashing in the MKUltra sense, as it is for having someone be very diligent within your framework of cult. But I don't know anything about cults. And then Anthony said, no promo, never monetized, just sharing a list of tactics. Castle made a vampires essay listing explaining hypnotic methods, neurolinguistic programming, mentalism, influence. Then John says, mind control to me is something a drug or hypnosis is to me. Woo! Thank you for the follows, everyone. Drug hypnosis is usually temporary. Brainwashing is trained/learned and changes how people operate normally. Yeah, I think it is to what you were saying, the Manchurian candidate of like and also what was described in this man's book, Gottlieb destroying the previous mind that inhabited.
Right.
As we understand it.
Yeah.
And then Warlight said, well, they're indoctrinated pawns. They're usually from programs at an early age and use mind control to cause an adult to be a pawn without previous history. I don't know about that one, Warlight. I think it would push back on that because I think that there are quite a few people that get indoctrinated into things and programs like cults despite being adults. And I think it's just people that are susceptible and maybe are in like transitive points in their lives. And or have just experienced great loss.
Yeah.
Those are usually the people most susceptible to being indoctrinated into a cult. And it's regardless of socioeconomic status, might I add.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember what their name was, but I think one of the because a lot of the people who were experimented on by Gottlieb were prisoners.
Mhm.
Just American prisoners, felons or whatever. And I think one of them talked about in one of their writings. I don't know if they I don't think they wrote a book, but they must have written something about some kind of reflection on their experiences. And they mentioned like, you know, the subjects that are being exposed to this like LSD overdosing, all of us are like men with violent pasts specifically. Like none of us came into this mentally okay. All of us came into this with like predilections towards violence. And this is a really bad set of subjects for any kind of psychological
Why would you do
experiment.
this?
Yeah. This is not good. Anyway, I laugh just also for chat, just in case any of you are unfamiliar with me or in case you are familiar with me, but you haven't seen me outside of my ASMR content. You know, I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. I laugh to self-soothe.
Like
none of this is funny.
no.
I just smile and I laugh all the time, really.
I mean,
And,
I think there's a type of discomfort that just really allows for like I think there is a level to laughing at the absurdity, but it doesn't feel like we're laughing at the like
no.
we're laughing out of just like we don't know how else to react to the discomfort of this tragedy.
Right, yeah. It's like kind of a processing laugh. It's an embarrassment laugh as well. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, everything I say can't possibly like account for the horrors that I'm actually talking about. So I feel embarrassed because like none of my words are enough. So I'm laughing out of constant embarrassment and anxiety and sadness and fear, you know, all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go for it.
Documents about MKUltra that have heavy sections redacted. In the 1970s, this was justified by the argument that it had only been 20 years since these terrible things had happened and revealing details might affect national security. Now 70 years have passed. That argument can no longer be valid. So I would urge this committee to try to fill out all the blank spaces in the documents that we have, because we know that is there. This task force could also consider trying to determine whether some new incarnation of MKUltra exists today. When the main phase of MKUltra drew to a close in the early 1960s, Sidney Gottlieb concluded that it had failed, that in fact there is no such thing as mind control. Even if he was right, however, he may have been right only at that time. In the many decades since then, there have been enormous advances in cyber technology, in artificial intelligence, in neuroscience. Covert agencies may have access now to tools for mind control that Sidney Gottlieb could not even have imagined. It may well have been true in 1963 that mind control is a myth, but whether it's still true is uncertain. And that question of whether mind control might now be possible under our new circumstances is something that has presumably occurred to scientists who work for secret services, including our own.
Can I put some anecdotal information here?
Please.
As a still technically, I guess like an alum or something, of the National Honor Society in the American high school system.
Me too.
Yeah, did you get recruited? Did you have to go to the seminars and stuff?
No, I just got a National Honor Society like patch on my stuff, and I was formally in it. And
they didn't send you like emails to go to the CIA, sort of like
maybe they did, and I forgot.
Oh man.
Oh God, maybe I forgot.
Yeah, I hope you did. I mean, there was just food, and they rented a pretty large auditorium. Like I was invited multiple times, and I was just like, and they would always say things like, "Oh, you need to pass these like security clearances, blah blah blah, this, that, or the third." But also, You know, we need things like graphic designers. We need things like people to just help out around. Like
Right.
we just need all these people for the CIA. But also it just, why are you asking people to be graphic designers but it's the National Honor Society?
Right.
Hmm?
They're farming for a particular type of person.
Yeah, yeah. And it felt it's extremely weird in hindsight because I had the revelation, there we go, of I wanted to be an artist at the time
Yeah.
in high school, and I just happened to be in the National Honor Society because I was enforced in my household to get good grades.
Mm.
Why would you say that to an auditorium full of National Honor Society people that are probably not trying to be artists usually?
Right.
Like it seems very like it's fishing.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely is. It's also like, how else would it happen? Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the army went to like the sports teams, the National Guard.
Did you not have like a ROTC on
Yeah.
at your school? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They're always recruiting, and they're always recruiting
Well.
children.
Yeah.
And school is the best time, like high school specifically, whenever you're in public, like a public school system, is the best time to recruit anyone because we've already been so acclimatized. Is that the word? Acclimatized?
Acclimated?
Acclimated? Yeah. To that structure, to that authority, to that kind of people like wanting to please our uppers. It's literally the perfect time, and that's why it works.
Yeah, and also I remember they used to do like push-up contests or like pull-up contests
Oh
and things
yeah.
of that nature to like try to get people just like generally like competing against each other but also still in the ROTC
Yeah.
recruitment pipeline.
Yeah.
And once again, I genuinely think good for the country, but also that's children that you're trying to recruit into the military.
Mm-hmm.
What? What?
Yeah.
But yeah, shall we continue?
We shall continue.
To the future. A renewed effort to find MKUltra documents from the 1950s and to fill out the redactions of those that have been released might shed new light on how the CIA operated during that period. It could also inform a new inquiry into whether any mind control projects are now underway inside the US security apparatus. That might help prevent the emergence of a 21st century MKUltra that could be even more destructive than the original. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kinszer.
Which is almost certainly happening on social media.
I mean, we have it in chattel, right? Chats bring it up. Stanley Milgram's teacher-learner experiment videos of who were highly stressed, electrocuting others were also laughing, sad and creepy.
Yeah.
Hey, people react to stress in many ways, including one of which being like smiling and laughing. I think also like to an extent, people that like are very feminine or raised feminine, you're kind of just like you're expected to be like, oh tee hee, I'm uncomfortable, but here's my uncomfortable smile and laugh.
Right.
Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, it's kind of it's de-escalation. It's a de-escalation
Yeah.
instinct. Yeah.
But
yeah,
all
with
the really awful stuff. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, like, with social media, like, it might be the CIA still behind things and still pulling the strings and still just being another project, but also now there's just, like, such obvious, like, market incentives for these corporations, independent of the CIA, to run these psychological experiments on their users and to farm their biometric data and manipulate them into being perfect scrollers and swipers and clickers and buyers of everything.
What was it? The Meta, the guy who's in the All In podcast, forgetting. He's the one who conducted the experiments for Meta on like testing people's brains, not testing their brains, but like putting their like impulse not like testing for neurological activity as it related to dopamine, as it related to scrolling through to get like the perfect feed for them. God, what was his name again?
I don't know. Mr. Badman.
Mr. Badman, all in
Mr.
podcast,
Badman.
host, meta,
Thank you, Honey Badgered. Yeah, no, I'm super, as soon as I learned about like websites like subtle or apps or whatever, like subtly trying to like farm your biometric data, the more I've just like seen it everywhere. And I'm probably a little bit, I don't know if I'm paranoid about it, because I don't really feel like it's like my responsibility in a lot of ways to sorry, there's like so much cat hair that's like sticking to my face right now.
you're good. This is so cute.
Now recognize Tom O'Neill for his opening
It's
statement.
But
it's Kamath, Pali, I can't pronounce his name, but fuck.
yeah, I'm not like super paranoid about it on a personal level. Like, I avoid giving my biometric data when I can, but also like I do see it as such like a system problem that it's more just something that I'm aware of, and that I really don't like it. I really don't like it, and I think it's very true. I think all these websites and apps, anytime something's asking for your age to scan to just like take a little quick picture of your face just for security reasons. Or there was that website that went kind of viral recently. Gosh, I think it was called something like mogging something, but you could literally just like log into the website and it would scan your face and a random stranger's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
They had that
finding
with
your biometric
they had that
data.
as the original version of Facebook,
Yeah.
where it's like who was hotter. But also Kamath, Palihapitiya. I'm fucking mispronouncing that to shit, but he's in the All In podcast.
Mm.
This is a BBC article. Who worked as Facebook's vice president for user growth, was speaking at an event run by the Stanford Graduate School of Business on the 10th of November. This is from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Which he described feeling tremendous guilt in helping the company attract 2 billion users. His comments echoed remarks by Sean Parker, who, one of the early pioneers of Facebook, who spoke on the 8th of November, saying the social network provided a dopamine hit and social validation feedback loop that exploited a vulnerability in human psychology. However, coverage this week has seen thousands responding to Palihapitiya's words. We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works, he told the audience. He advised people to take a hard break from social media, describing its effect as short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops. God, where is it though?
Yep.
Like he literally ran experiments on
I know I did hear about that one, and maybe this is what you're talking about, but maybe it's something different, where they like took one group of people's Facebook feeds and they made it like my cat's scratching her face and shaking my whole desk. She's doing this like that thing, but it's like shaking my whole desk right now. But they did the thing where they took a whole bunch of people on Facebook and they made their feed like really negative and scary and like full of violence.
Yeah.
Just as an experiment to see what would happen, to see if it was more engagement or
Why
less engagement.
why A/B test that? Why do that? Why do that?
But sometimes sometimes I log into YouTube and for like a week my feed is like really awful, and I always wonder, like, am I getting experimented on right now? Is that why my feed is so awful randomly?
Well, the thing is that I actually have always been, and perhaps this is to my benefit, I've always been extremely paranoid about social media. I don't know why.
I did not grow up paranoid about it, and I wish I had.
Really?
Yeah.
I grew up, I guess, like paranoid about it because it's a self-report. I watched too much anime, and one of them was very much about like how social media kind of like scrapes your data to use it, especially even in anonymous forums, to like try to. It was essentially just like kind of doxing other people at a very large scale, but they would start gangs out of it. But long story short, I was very, very cautious about it because of that, and I would always go into my settings, so I'd see how often the settings would change, especially on Facebook, and I would turn them all off manually. And also same goes for Google when it came out with like when Google tried to have its own like Google Spaces or whatever.
Yeah.
Remember, like
I do remember
essentially
that.
tried to compete with Facebook, and I turned off all the settings for that. And I was very cognizant of where all of my information. Every time it changes, I turn off my settings or I alter the like stuff that like either automatically contradicts or just like makes no sense.
Right, right.
And to this day, I don't get YouTube ads because of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I
It's that's
wish.
the oh, go ahead.
I wish like me or my parents had like read more sci-fi books, like dystopian sci-fi books, like in the
Mhm.
80s and 90s, and for me like in the early 2000s, because I think that a lot of the like the nerdiest of the nerds knew a lot more about internet security because they had already read the dystopian horrors. Um, Whereas, like, I grew up in
Anyway.
quite a tech optimist household, which is funny because we were also like we didn't have access to a lot of the technology. Like we were we had
Mm.
very simple technology, but the stuff that we did have, like we were so enthusiastically just like using everything and putting our names on everything to its fullest. Um, just uncritically, excitedly even. Like, oh wow, look, now we can make like I actually didn't want a Facebook because for me there was no point. There was literally no point. And for me, whenever I turned 13 and you could get a Facebook account, my family was like pushing me to get a Facebook just for the excitement of taking part in like culture, like getting your driver's license or something, you know?
Huh.
Um And so I got it, and I literally never used it. I've never been a Facebook user, on the reg. But yeah, it was like culturally, I don't know, promoted where I was
Yeah,
in my
that's
in my
interesting.
family.
I think in my school it was,
Mm-hmm.
but to an extent, like I was always extremely cognizant of what I was putting there because I was just like, one, everyone's connected to each other, so I don't want all of you guys know point in time of the day. Like I
Right.
really prefer my privacy here. And also, like to an extent, it was all very appearance oriented. So we were just all, even as kids, we were highly cognizant of like just what we were putting onto the internet and how it might be used later. But I think that's because we all had paranoid parents. Um, but I wouldn't say that we were tech pessimists per se, just like
Yeah.
cognizant of how appearance goes online and how it can be later on used, even as it just relates to like news about a singular person through like say a newspaper or something. But
Right.
because yeah, no, I think like I was always using anonymous accounts, burner accounts. I would change my gender constantly. I would have like two or three accounts on different platforms just to like be like I didn't want to be tracked. I was overly cognizant perhaps. But me, I think I was one of the ones where friends ended up going to like MIT and stuff. So they were the ones who were like crypto and things of that nature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, they were very much like, we have to like use encrypted messaging, blah, 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 like here's my PGP, like things like that. So I was always like highly cognizant. So
Mm.
yeah, that's a bit of a self-report on my end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I never enjoyed, whenever I was younger, I never enjoyed the social media that had my name on it. But I was excited to get a Tumblr.
Tumblr.
Yeah, and I loved Tumblr. And it was
Tumblr was
because,
fun.
it was like specifically because it wasn't about communicating with my family or anyone in my high school or my church or like whatever. It was like specifically strangers who were also into Kingdom Hearts as much as I was into Kingdom Hearts or Warrior Cats
Yes.
or like whatever it was that month. Um yeah, way
I
better
don't know
than
if your
Facebook.
chat is chat saying anything interesting on your end.
Oh yeah, they just can't stop being interesting. Um let's see. Oh, Destructicon said the only reason I got Facebook was because I wanted to play Farmville. That's how Mark got me.
Well,
I also wanted to play Farmville, and my mom just let me play on her Facebook.
I never
So,
understood what was the okay, this is gonna sound very ignorant on my end. What was the appeal of Farmville?
I can't remember it that much, honestly. I mean, I think it's the same as the appeal for Stardew Valley, or
I didn't play Stardew Valley.
it's just have you ever played any farming sims? No farming sims?
Minecraft?
Yeah, that's close, I guess. But not really. I mean, it's the appeal of all farming sims. It's like it's probably partially the appeal to real life farming as well, but you put things into nice little neat rows and then they grow and they all have their own timeline and seasons change, and you have all of your animals that you develop personal little like nicknames for and relationships with. And your farming keeps getting more and more advanced. You start with just like some little seeds and corn, and then eventually you have like a windmill and chickens and
Let's
goats
go
and,
windmill!
like, all kinds of craziness. Yeah, I think a lot of it is like managing a lot of different time. That always attracts me to games whenever I know that I'm going to be managing a lot of different clocks all at once. Like, okay, I have to like water my plants, and then this is growing over here and that's hatching an egg, and I have one season to do this, and like blah 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 blah. Kind of the same as like I think a lot of food games are like that as well. Like,
Yeah. I was gonna say, this is why you're good at cooking and I'm not.
Yeah. I think they've also done some I guess it would be a sociological study, although it might be in the realm of psychology. But they've done studies that show that generally women like those sorts of things more than men, like managing, like multitasking. Women enjoy multitasking, and we actually generally function higher when we're multitasking, whereas generally speaking, men are more evolved for focused long-term tasks.
Do you think it's nature or nurture?
Probably nurture. But maybe a little bit of nature. Maybe a little bit of nature.
I mean, testosterone does essentially like kind of when they were doing studies on testosterone to kind of understand it better, it does essentially kind of not turn off. It makes your decision-making process time like slightly shorter, but it's more of just like it come like that can also be like impulse control is a little worse.
Right.
But also it was like kind of a negligible amount, so insofar as like we can't really
right
ascertain any sort of like quote unquote truth from it. So
right. And I mean, there could also be nature elements as well, like not just testosterone maybe affecting men in that way, but for women or for females, being able to do things while taking care of a baby is also probably something that is, and handling the clock of the baby constantly, as well as the clock of the gathering and the cleaning and the bread. And I think that there probably is some nature involved there.
I think man, I'd make a shit trad wife. Fuck.
Yeah, but I mean, look, to be fair,
and not to say not, I think that there is value in those skills. There is so much value in those skills.
I mean, so
like being able
there's
to hold
value
a
in
household
those
together.
skills for men too. Like if
Yeah.
we were more highly evolved in general as a species, then men would have all of that ability as well, because men also take care of babies. Like,
Yeah.
the next step, I mean, not the next step necessarily, but like if evolution were to keep happening, we would assume that, if this is a skill that comes from taking care of babies, then men would get it too.
I mean, my dad had to take care of me, but also like I think both my parents were equally inept. So
yeah.
rough. But yeah, no. I think I'm inclined to, just out of the sheer like I would like this to be true, I would want to think that it's more nurture.
Yeah.
But also, it's just
probably both.
that's me. It probably both.
Yeah. It's probably both. And it's like, even if it's not both, then nurture could correct for it, probably more than like nature would
Ever could, yeah.
uncorrect it or whatever.
I mean, the studies were so inconclusive on testosterone in the first place that it was we can't really ascertain any sort of truth from this.
Right.
So
Right. Anyway, so tangential to MKUltra.
yeah.
Let's try listening to this next guy.
Oh, sorry. Should I start over?
Oh, poor guy.
Thank you, Chairwoman Luna and members of the committee. It's a privilege to be here today. Almost 50 years ago, the last congressional hearings into MKUltra took place just a short walk from here in the Dirksen Senate Office Building. At those hearings, convened in August and September of 1977, representatives of the CIA told Congress and the American people that its 25-year effort to control human behavior had been a colossal failure. Because I believe Congress was never told the truth about what this program actually achieved. In fact, I believe the agency misled Congress in 1977 when it characterized MKUltra as a failure. My name is Tom O'Neill, and in 1999, I accepted a magazine assignment to write a story about murders committed by a group of hippies called the Manson family. For those unfamiliar with this horrific episode of American history, in the summer of 1969, 4 young people acting on the orders of a cult leader named Charles Manson went to the home of movie director Roman Polanski and murdered everyone they found there, including his 8.5-month pregnant wife, the actress Sharon Tate. The victims were complete strangers to their killers. The following night, Manson's followers murdered another couple in the same grisly fashion. At the time I accepted the assignment, I'd never heard of MKUltra, and I wouldn't for another 2 years after I'd missed countless deadlines.
Do you think using grizzly like that came after the bear, or did we name the bear because
I don't know.
because they're so very violent and grisly?
You know what? This calls for a Google search. I would like to know this etymology right the fuck now.
Yes, please enlighten us, Tropical. Please, please. Grizzly.
Grizzly etymology.
Mm-hmm.
Derives from the Middle English grizzle, gray, and Anglo-French gris, meaning also gray. Grizzly, meaning horrible or fear-inspiring, is just an accidental phonetic overlap, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
So grizzly is Grizzly as the bear, and grizzly as the fear-inspiring or horrible is GRIS.
Oh, yeah. That you're making me remember that in real time. It is like that, isn't it? Huh. So just a homophone.
So grizzly murders, just a homophone. And the etymology comes from the Old English grislik, which means dreadful or horrible. And it's ultimately in an ancient Germanic verb, grisen, which meaning to shudder with fear or to tremble.
Well, there you go.
So the more you know.
More you know.
Deadlines, lost the assignment, and fallen down a nightmarish rabbit hole trying to answer the question I couldn't quite shake. How had Manson, a barely literate ex-con, acquired the ability to persuade ordinary young people to murder complete strangers simply because he had told them to? The pursuit of the answer to that question led me to Dr. Louis Jolyon West, known to his friends as Jolly. West was one of the most influential psychiatrists in America. During his career, he crossed paths with some of the most controversial events of the 20th century, including the Patty Hearst kidnapping case and the aftermath of the John F. Kennedy assassination investigation.
Horror movie nickname for like an evil psychologist. Oh gosh, I just like skipped
Jolly?
by accident. Yeah, Jolly.
Yeah.
7
really
academic.
Yeah, I think I might not be at the right time, but hopefully it's about this.
Researchers named in a front-page New York Times story alleging that the CIA had used American universities, hospitals, and prisons as secret laboratories for experiments involving LSD and other drugs on unwitting human subjects.
Wait, I think we
West
might have skipped
vigorously
ahead.
denied.
Okay. Let's see.
In fact, I believe the agency misled Congress in 1977 when it characterized MKUltra as a failure. My name is Tom O'Neill, and at night I restricted his to the grisly fashion
Grisly
to
fashion.
hold strangers simply because he had told them to. How had
Oh, wait, no.
considered as jolly?
Jolly.
West was one of the most influential psychiatrists in America. During his career, he crossed paths with some of the most controversial events of the 20th century, including the Patty Hearst kidnapping case and the aftermath of the John F. Kennedy assassination investigation. In 1977, West was one of 7 academic researchers named in a front-page New York Times story alleging that the CIA had used American universities, hospitals, and prisons as secret laboratories for experiments involving LSD and other drugs on unwitting human subjects. West vigorously denied the allegations. He acknowledged that the agency had approached him, but insisted he had refused because he said LSD was too dangerous and unpredictable to be used on humans. He added that he limited all of his research with LSD to animals. The revelations in the Times led directly to the congressional hearings held later that year. West's denials, however, were effective. He was never investigated, and his name never came up at the hearings. I'll spare you the long and tedious story of how my Manson reporting led me to West, except to say that I eventually learned that in 1967, when Manson transformed into the cult leader we are familiar with today, he and his followers were receiving free medical care at a clinic in San Francisco, where West had established a base of operations for a research project he was conducting nearby. After becoming intrigued by the allegations against West, I learned that UCLA, his last academic home, had inherited his paper following his death in 1999. Nearly 2 months and more than 200 boxes later, I found the proverbial needle in a haystack: correspondence between West and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the architect of MKUltra. The letters begin in 1953, just 2 months after CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized the program, and while West was stationed at the Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, where he was chief psychiatrist at the base hospital. In his first letter to Gottlieb, West proposed conducting experiments on unwitting human subjects, including military personnel, prisoners, and psychiatric patients at the base hospital. He then outlined the experiments themselves in 6 more pages that could have been written by.
I don't know how you feel about that statement just now, but I wonder what influenced Gottlieb at that point to purposely target military personnel, people in hospitals, and I think he said felons.
Yeah.
Do you have?
Like, why?
I think people just like people in terrible situations
Yeah.
as it relates to hospitals. People who are susceptible to authority as it relates to military,
Yeah.
as well as universities.
I think it's
Um,
like, it's similar to what the guy had said before. People who are less likely to be, like, looked for, you know?
yeah. Hoaxilla says accessible subjects.
Yeah.
I
Accessible.
mean, they are accessible, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think we also a lot of times forget as well that like boys in the military are oftentimes young and fit and don't have other options. A lot
Yeah.
of boy like they're kids, and some of them are red-blooded patriots who are passionate and excited and smart, and they could do anything with their lives, and they choose to join the military. Good on them. That's the men I want in my military. A lot of them are unfortunately
Susceptible.
kids who don't have any other options, and kids who don't make it into college, and kids who don't have a good family or a good community, and kids who might not even have a family at all. Like, that's a lot of the military. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought I was like, it struck me as poignant that he was already targeting people to that extent of like where he wanted to get his victims of experimentation from, all
Yeah.
like to this like degree
Right. Yeah, and
already.
and
So
they had said that he had claimed that he had only been doing his experiments on animals for a while or something, right?
yeah,
Which is ridiculous when you think about the motives that they had of like making someone who you could control their mind. Like, how would you even gauge that? If you learned how to control the mind of a rabbit, how would you even know? Like, they don't speak
Yeah.
English. You can't.
What is that, the Haitian, do you know the Haitian folklore as it relates to zombies? Where it's,
No.
like, essentially just, God, I remember having an entire argument on Discord because of it. Um, where it's like the legendary undead reanimated cadaver, but like essentially more so someone who's like reanimated through a bokor or something to that extent, and it's like it's God, fuck. I remember reading this like one really interesting it was deeply tied to slavery as it related to essentially enslaved Africans were forced to work in brutal conditions, but like also the idea behind it was to use voodoo to create the perfect, like essentially Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, interesting.
And
Huh.
I'm misremembering most of this. This is like just some discussion that I had years ago that I did never further looked into
Yeah.
after this conversation. But like I remember it being like, oh man, why? And also just like it gives like a but it like okay, I'm looking it up right now and ethnobotanist, which what the fuck does that mean? Like Wade Davis hypothesized that Bokos, which is the name of the sorcerer,
Probably they just
uh,
they probably just study the like the ethnic traditions relating to specific plants.
okay,
Yeah. Because that's like what an
use powders containing.
ethnomusicologist is the fancy word for
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah, in that sense that makes.
music folklore. Yeah.
Hypothesized that Bokos use powders containing neurotoxins such as tetro tetrodotoxin 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 from pufferfish and hallucinogens to induce a death-like state before exhuming and controlling the victims, though many of these claims have been heavily debated in the scientific community. But yeah. I to what extent it is true, unknown. I do know that this is a tradition that I've heard of.
Right.
But I'm not Haitian, so I don't know. Not throwing a hat in this ring.
Yeah. Huh. Very interesting. All right.
By Joseph Mengele. Using LSD in combination with hypnosis, Westbrook was inducing confusion, amnesia, and specific mental disorders in people who would remember nothing of their interaction with him afterward. He sought to develop techniques to extract true information and implant false information in unwilling subjects and to alter the attitudes and beliefs of, quote, previously loyal individuals. In other words, to completely switch their allegiance from one group or leader to another. But it was another sentence at the end of that letter that stopped me cold. These experiments, he wrote, must eventually be put to test in practical trials in the field. Gottlieb's response could hardly have been more enthusiastic. My good friend, he wrote, I had been wondering whether your apparent rapid and comprehensive grasp of our problems could possibly be real. You have indeed developed an admirably accurate picture of exactly what we are after. West replied that there was no more vital undertaking conceivable in these times. There was another document in West's papers that had even more significant implications. It was a 14-page report that West wrote in 1956, just 3 years after he contracted with the CIA. In the report, West described administering LSD and other drugs in conjunction with hypnosis on unwitting human subjects, and then he made a remarkable claim. He announced that he had learned how to replace true memories with false memories in people without their knowledge. In other words, he clarified, it has been found to be feasible to take the memory of a definite event in the life of an individual and, through hypnotic suggestion, bring about the subsequent conscious recall to the effect that this event never actually took place, but that a different fictional event actually did occur. If West's report was accurate, this was not the failure agency officials described in 1977, quite the opposite. It was, in fact, the central ambition of the MKUltra operation. the means of gaining the ability to seize the control of a person's perceptions, memories, and ultimately their behavior. But there was still one more discovery, and this time I found it in the National Security Archives at George Washington University, the official repository of the CIA's MKUltra records, which were released to Congress after the 1977 hearings. In those holdings was a different versions of West's 1956 report. The original paper had been replaced by a 4-page summary that did not exist in West files and appears to have been written by someone else. His claims about replacing memories were gone. In their place was a theoretical discussion of LSD in dissociative states. The version supplied to Congress concluded that the effects of LSD and similar drugs on dissociative states had, and I'm quoting, never been studied. Never been studied. In the original report, West discusses observations from his own experiments, including detailed descriptions of using LSD to, as he wrote, speed the induction of the hypnotic state and deepen the trance in subjects. Those passages have been removed in the report turned over to Congress. The discrepancy could not have been more stark.
How do you feel
Nearly
about that?
50 years.
I don't like it. I don't like
I
it
don't like
one
it at
bit.
all.
Yeah,
That is.
chat said false memories can be created rather easily and has been studied to death. People can make false memories all on their own without any manipulation. I do feel like
Yeah.
what's important to note here, though, is that, like, yeah, false memories happen, but the idea being presented is, like, can someone control your false memories? Like, can someone intentionally create a specific false memory in a subject via hypnosis
And
plus
to induce
LSD?
that through LSD, and then on top of that have it government funded, and then on top of that have that record expunged from the actual archive.
Yeah.
Holy sh.
What if LSD is like in Red 40? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's all I eat, so I hope so.
It's
All
everywhere.
of my foods have Red 40.
None of this has ever been real.
Why? It's curious too why LSD.
Yeah.
Also curious why LSD is so like let's say in the black marketplace it's still extremely prevalent as just like a party drug or whatever, what have you.
Sure.
The susceptibility and like the neuroplasticity that is associated with, I've never done it before, but like
Yeah.
I don't know what the appeal is. But the
Yeah.
fact that it's used for experiments to this extent and now it's being expunged from the record makes me I find this harrowing information deeply.
Yeah.
And also perhaps maybe now we can do a good faith reading of as to why this wasn't public information, as if it was private, like if it was put into private hands and people wanted this at large scale,
Yeah.
they would now have the information on how to do so that was
Right.
government funded.
Right. And some would say that organizations that are not necessarily directly affiliated with the government, that they do know this, and they have known this for a long time, and that, you know, this is the kind of thing that happens in the most elite trafficking situations, if you will. On islands.
I can see it too.
On islands unmentioned.
On islands unmentioned and very well known.
Yes.
At least now in the common zeitgeist.
Yes, yes. Because these, I mean, obviously not exactly stories like these, but there are stories similar to these of from survivors or from alleged survivors or people who claim to be survivors but are not necessarily don't necessarily have any evidence that they were even involved in anything like this at all. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories of people. People have stories of like going through crazy experiences where they have been given substances and then gone through traumatic events. And some of those stories must be real. And then most of those people are just like deemed crazy and locked up. or deemed crazy and ignored and end up on the streets. But that's something
Or
that
deemed crazy and then given too much attention and die of mysterious circumstances and or diagnosed depressive episodes and then later suicide.
right. I think that's something that haunts me like so deeply on really a daily basis when I start thinking about this kind of thing too hard, is just like how many people have told the truth and have kind of had the have just been ignored. How many
Yeah.
people have already blown the right whistles? You know, that sounded really weird when I said it, but like, you know, there
No, it
are
wasn't a
whistleblowers.
euphemism. Yeah.
There are whistleblowers that are have a lot of power and authority, and then there's whistleblowers who have just like been through shit. You
Yeah.
know, there's people who are victims of these situations, and they've been telling their stories, and people don't hear them, and it makes me really sad. And I think a
With
lot
that,
of it, or like a lot of it as well, is just like whenever people go through this stuff, it does drive them crazy. And so they might
yeah.
sound weird. They might move their hands a little weird, and their eyes might like kind of like be going all over the place, and they might like have a tremor in their voice. And those things are also things that you see whenever people lie, and whenever people are just like actually having delusions. And so it is hard to tell when someone's telling the truth or when they've just like been through something awful. But yeah.
It's genuinely awful, and it's like, I mean, hey, well, he could do something at least. The very least he could do I don't know, some sort of like, well, the ethicality of a truth serum in itself is a little questionable. But you know, if there is something that would just like, I don't even know, this fucking ethical can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is awful.
Awful. Okay.
Years ago,
Laughing
another
because of
congressional
discomfort,
committee
Pat.
believed
Yep.
it had been given the truth about MKUltra. It had not. In conclusion, I respectfully submit that these records, some newly available and others that remained outside the government's disclosure for decades, warrant a thorough reexamination of what the program accomplished, what Congress was told, and what may still remain hidden. I'm happy to provide the documents I've referenced today, and I've provided many additional details in my written testimony.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. I now recognize Elizabeth Janexi for her opening statement.
Wait, sorry, do you mind? 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube chat. Stop arguing. What are you doing? Stop. I see you. Okay, sorry, continue.
Chairman Luna and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm a health research scientist with a master's and doctoral degrees in psychology from the George Washington University. I spent 22 years from 2003 to 2025 as a scientific program official at the National Institutes of Health, managing more than $132 million in health research grants and co-authoring 18 federal funding programs. I left the NIH in April of 2025. I'm here today because what is happening to NIH right now is not reform. It is the replacement of scientific judgment with political control. For 80 years, U.S. federal investment in biomedical research produced outcomes that no private market would have funded. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. NIH-funded research on blood pressure, cholesterol, and smoking drove a 56% decline in heart disease between 1950 and 1996. Cancer has been transformed. Treatments for breast, lung, prostate, and childhood cancers, along with immunotherapies that converted previously fatal diagnoses into manageable conditions, traced directly to NIH-funded research. HIV/AIDS were a death sentence in 1981. No pharmaceutical company saw a profitable market for treatments. NIH ran the trials that no one else would run. The result was antiretroviral therapy and pre-exposure prophylaxis. Global AIDS deaths have fallen 54% since 2010. Rare diseases that affect 30 million Americans get studied at the NIH because no market will fund that research. Every dollar that's appropriated to the National Institutes of Health generates $2.46 in economic output. NIH-supported work contributed to 354 of the 356 new drugs that the FDA approved between 2010 and 2019. Cutting the funding source of that pipeline does not slow it, it ends it. The proposed OMB federal financial assistance rule would give political appointees authority to terminate funded grants at any time without cause, including ongoing clinical trials with enrolled patients. This is not a hypothetical. NIH has already terminated or frozen thousands of grants, including hundreds of ongoing clinical trials since January 2025, concentrated in infectious disease, vaccine, and health disparities research. This proposed rule will make that authority permanent. The NIH director has eliminated the merit score thresholds that once protected peer review, and political appointees are right now overriding peer review outcomes to screen grants for alignment with administrative.
The NIH is just a mess. Like, it's just,
Yeah, it is.
And I've known some people in my life who've been affiliated, and I only hear bad things. I can't remember the last time I heard something good about the NIH and their general management and organization. Yeah.
Priorities. The proposed OMB rule will also severely restrict international research. We're managing an H5N1 bird flu outbreak that has more than 70 documented human cases. We recently concluded a hantavirus response that required CDC scientists working alongside Argentine counterparts. The current Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is now the third largest on record and is outpacing containment efforts. This rule will curtail exactly that kind of cooperation that we need. NIH lost 1,112 PhD trained workers from 2025 to early 26. More than half of the NIH institutes right now are operating without permanent scientific leadership. The majority of its advisory council is required by statute to provide international research. We're managing an H5N1 bird flu outbreak that has more than 70 documented human cases. We recently concluded a hantavirus response that required CDC scientists working alongside Argentine counterparts. The current Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is now the third largest on record and is outpacing containment efforts. This rule will curtail exactly that kind of cooperation that we need. NIH lost 1,112 PhD trained workers from 2025 to early 26. More than half of the NIH institutes right now are operating without permanent scientific leadership. The majority of its advisory councils required by statute to provide independent oversight have lost more than half of their members. The fundamental choice before this Congress is between a system where scientists make scientific judgments through accountable processes and one where political appointees make those calls instead. That choice will determine whether the next breakthroughs in cancer, Alzheimer's, antibiotic resistance, and pandemic defense will happen here, somewhere else, or perhaps not at all. I urge this committee to support a joint resolution of disapproval to block the proposed OMB financial assistance rule. That authority to replace peer review with political approval has not been granted by Congress and should not be.
Your time's expired. I'll be now going to myself.
Thank you very much.
Questioning. Thank you, ma'am. My first question is for
Did you
Mr.
just
O'Neill.
bring something completely irrelevant?
Naomi, the joint.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that is something that is like a substantial issue. I guess just not the time and place for it.
Yeah, I agree. That felt irrelevant.
CIA Army program that ran parallel with MKUltra at Fort Detrick appears to have been run with deliberate minimal documentation. Army records on Special Operations Division have apparently been destroyed. In your investigation, what did you learn about MK Naomi, and do you believe its activities were even more serious than what we know about MKUltra?
I'm sorry, I didn't learn anything about those operations. I kept my focus mostly on Dr. West and his work. I do know that the only reason I found the documents I found was because Dr. West accidentally left them in his papers, and he probably did that because he corresponded with Gottlieb under Gottlieb's assigned alias, which was Sherman Grifford, and he addressed all his mail to a post office box here at a Voss Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. I'm just going to real quick go to Dr. Kinszer. Are you aware of anything that exists with MK Naomi in your research? And if you could please press the button.
My understanding of MK Naomi is that it was a joint project between the military and the CIA. And there's a big difference because the MKUltra project was aimed at seizing control of the minds of individuals. The Army was interested in something different, which was trying to use biological agents in warfare against entire populations. So MK Naomi is the place where these two goals overlapped.
And that was the 1953 Frank Olson death. Was that in a way tied to that from?
Wait, sorry, could you rewind a little bit?
Yeah.
Because what was the original? It was MKUltra, MK Naomi, and she said MKUltra was where they aligned both perfectly. So was there one that was just like non-militaristic MKUltra? Like, do you mind rewinding like a little bit?
I think MKUltra was the non-militaristic, but yeah.
Okay, but it also happened to align with both objectives.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see.
Go to Dr. Kinszer. Are you aware of anything that exists with MK and Naomi in your research? And if you could please press the button.
My understanding of MK Naomi is that it was a joint project between the military and the CIA. And there's a big difference because the MKUltra project was aimed at seizing control of the minds of individuals. The Army was interested in something different, which was trying to use biological agents in warfare against entire populations. So MK Naomi is the place where these two goals overlapped.
And that was the 1953.
Did that clear it up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Frank Olson died.
JMG says 3,000 patients died at a Vermont state hospital mental facility between 1952 and 1973 receiving MK. I mean, that sounds accurate. I don't know about the claim itself, but
Yeah, I don't know if this is related, but I do know that there was some kind of like expose, I guess, research done. I think
might as well look it up.
I think this was happening in, God, I'm going to get some of the details wrong, and I apologize for that, but it was definitely the Midwest, and I want to say it was like Detroit or Chicago or somewhere like that, but like on the outskirts, where they were doing experiments with gassing it like entire towns to like see what would happen with this like smog or this gas. And I don't know if that was related to any of the MK Naomi stuff or if that was something else, but I do know that it was similar, biological warfare testing on American citizens.
I think it was something else because it says the claims stems from a book called Surviving Evil, CIA Mind Control Experiments in Vermont by Karen Wetmore. Wetmore, an alleged survivor and researcher, hypothesizes that thousands of deaths at the hospital between 1952 and 1973 have provided cover for terminal CIA mind control experiments funded under the but there is no official historical or government consensus that verifies. So, there are official investigations into MKUltra, such as the 19 committee hearings, documented widespread unethical experiments involving unwitting subjects and drugs, but do not corroborate a mass fatality event in Vermont. The CIA-funded psychiatric experiments are most notoriously linked to Dr. Ewan Cameron at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, Canada, rather than Vermont State Hospital. Uh-oh. Montréal, qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Welp. Interesting stuff. Okay.
Tied to that from some chatter that we had seen in.
Exactly what the motivation was behind the decision about Frank Olson, if there was such a decision, is unknown.
My next question is also for you, sir. Operation Paperclip brought over 1,600 German scientists into the United States government after World War II, including individuals who had conducted human experimentation in concentration camps. The CIA and military were aware of their backgrounds and recruited them anyways. In your research, did you find direct documentation between Paperclip scientists and the development of MKUltra's experimental protocols, specifically the use of mescaline, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, which were techniques also documented at Dachau?
Absolutely.
Mescaline,
Kurt Bloma, who was the chief.
Mescaline, what was it? The second one?
The CIA and military were aware of their backgrounds and recruited them anyways. In your research, did you find direct documentation between Paperclip scientists and the development of MKUltra's experimental protocols, specifically the use of mescaline, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, which
hypnosis, sensory
hypnosis,
deprivation, yeah,
and sensory deprivation. Okay,
which were techniques also documented at Dachau?
Absolutely. Kurt Bloma, who was the chief of biological weapons development for the Nazi government, came to work for the CIA. So did Walter Schreiber, who was the Surgeon General of the Nazi Army. I can just tell a brief story. When I was researching my book, I found what I think might be the first secret CIA prison or black site. It's a nice chalet in Germany. And the guy who now owns it took me into the basement. He said these were the cells where the MKUltra officers, working side by side with Nazis, carried out those gruesome experiments, which were actually just continuations of the experiments that those Nazis had been conducting just a few years earlier right down the road.
Just for timeline and clarification, these experiments were happening after the Nuremberg trials, correct? So the CIA would have known that these were crimes against humanity.
I looked for an episode in which the Nuremberg doctrines were posted on the wall in some MKUltra or CIA office, and I was never able to find any indication that those Nuremberg principles ever were even consulted, much less obeyed.
Thank you. My next question would be for either witness to comment, Dr. Kinszer or Mr. O'Neill. Both witnesses have written about the psychiatrist Louis Jolly West. Sidney Gottlieb, who ran MKUltra program for the CIA, hired West as a contractor to conduct research for Subproject 43, combining hypnotism, drugs, and sensory deprivation to create dissociative states, in which, to quote Mr. Kinszer in his book Poisoner in Chief, the human mind could be pulled away from its moorings. Following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, West psychiatrically examined Jack Ruby, then in prison for murdering the president accused of the assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin accused of murdering President Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald. A report emerged from West's examination said that Ruby had suffered an acute psychotic break. Can you explain why Dr. West in particular was chosen to conduct an examination of Jack Ruby alone in his jail cell with no other psychologist present?
So, what do you think we're supposed to do with mad scientists?
What? So what's the deal with mad scientists?
What do we do with these people?
This is, I think, what I don't know. I want to refer to it like as the Murray Shelley problem, where it's just like we have these people pursuing knowledge at the cost of essentially like just basic ethics.
Yep.
And there are reasons that we have like boards of ethics for these sort of experiments, and also
I think maybe also like part of the question is like, why do we have the urge at all to treat a mad scientist any different than like a
criminal?
Yeah, like a dog abuser. Like, like
well, they're a human abuser and they abuse bad human.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I don't know.
I mean, the problem with that is that like fundamentally the unfortunate reality is that these experiments do get results.
Yeah, people want to use them. It just like
Yeah,
I just keep
and it
thinking
makes money.
about Game of Thrones right now, about the have you watched Game of Thrones at all?
Yes.
It's like, Cersei eventually finds her I can't remember what they're called, the priest class.
Yeah.
And she has him like work on the mountain basically, and like kind of Frankenstein him so that he's okay again. But it's such an archetype. Like when something is such an archetype that it is it's in all media and it's in Game of Thrones, and then it's of course you're gonna find it in real life as well. And it's like, okay, so these archetypes of these mad scientists exist, and the people who use them kind of have an attitude of like, well, this mad scientist is going to be funded by someone. This mad scientist is going to be working for someone. I'd rather him work for me than for Russia.
Yeah, it's just like, also not only that, they will probably continue their research to whatever. It's just a matter of like, are those goals aligned with what? Oh, Mr. Bantu, thank you for the subscription. Oh my gosh. Ah! What the heck? Oh, thank you. But yeah, no, it's like to an extent these things are fundamentally unfortunately profitable.
Yeah.
And people want to know this information because they want to use it to their own means, be it positive or negative as how we see fit in those like nebulous terminology. But what to do with these people that will pursue knowledge at all costs? I don't know. I don't think we have an answer.
Right. I mean,
I think
it's also like yes, so they have an urge to pursue knowledge at all costs, but they wouldn't actually pursue knowledge at all costs because they don't have all of the money to pay all the costs unless you hire them, which is what the US government did. You know what I mean? Like if they could
I think also this curtails off of like World War II sort of
Right.
mentality where it's like once again we have, not there are people who are Nazis who are still alive and kicking and still have this knowledge in their head of all these gruesome things that they've done to other people. And like obviously the US government wants this knowledge. They literally silenced Japan and excused war crimes. I'm oversimplifying here, but like to get this information, like
Yeah.
they find it beneficial and they just don't want to have the moral qualm of having that blood on their hands until they actually do, and then they have MKUltra, but also I guess MK Naomi. So
Yeah.
I don't think that I think there is going to be this facet of humanity up until find a need in which it is no longer useful for us to find out these sorts of, like, in a weird way, perhaps there is some sort of, like, I don't know, pea zombie that we can have that doesn't actually have consciousness, sapient, sentience, whatever, what have you. Um, that we can do these experiments upon, in which we understand these things better and don't use that knowledge for harm.
Mm.
But perhaps it would still be used for harm anyway.
Right.
And some things should just be left unknown, but we don't know how to do that. We pursue
Right.
knowledge because we are insecure and we do not. It's a security dilemma.
Right.
We trust that someone else has something that we don't, that is dangerous to us, like a nuclear weapon or knowledge on how to
Mm-hmm.
create a nuclear weapon or a bomb, or a power plant or whatever, what have you. And therefore, we want to have a stronger weapon.
Right.
And it all stems from, like, to me, my theory is that it stems from a fundamental, like, and it goes back into, like, uh, psychoanalysis as it relates to Lacan, and, like, desire, lack, but also, like, just the fundamental psychology of insecurity being the driving mechanism behind, why humans always want more, a
Right.
greed
Right.
that sort
Right.
of exists. We see it
Yeah.
as ambition. It
Yeah,
has
and like
interchangeable names.
part of what makes us human in the very beginning is just the fact that we looked around our environment and we started like conquering it. You know, we looked at a
Yeah,
tree and we stopped just living under it. We started chopping it up and turning it into tools, you know? Like, and
yeah.
trees are not our enemies, but even like we have this base human instinct to look around us and be like, okay, this thing isn't giving me enough. How do I get the most out of this thing? Um, and then when it comes
Also, I
to,
think it's.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, you go ahead.
Uh, Um, I think it's also as in relation to, because it relates to, like, arguments about capitalism, competition, and all that. But to bring it to a more, like, psychological, psychoanalytical level, um, it's like, so long as there exists someone who can be more or less than you in a hierarchical sense, so too will you desire to be above them.
Yeah,
So you will
yeah,
always want to have more
yeah,
because of that sort of like, contrast, and
yeah.
therefore I think, there's theories about, like, post-scarcity societies in which this is no longer feasible, nor not even feasible, that's not the right word. In which it's no longer, like, advantageous to be um competitive,
Right,
but that requires post-scarcity of resources.
right.
But then again, it's just like, it's a fundamental, humans have insecurity as a built-in defense mechanism. We can't
Mm-hmm.
get rid of this lack, like, oh, something will go wrong if I don't have,
Right.
even if we have all the things in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Because there, once you get past having enough capital to survive, what do you need, like 80K USD a year,
Mm-hmm.
adjust for inflation now or something? There was on this called How Much Is Enough,
Yeah.
which was based on Epicurean economics. But essentially, like, even once you get past that, there becomes a thing, like, there becomes social capital, which is where we get into, like, millionaire, billionaire types, and it's like, how much do you need to have for you to feel secure? But it will never happen, and it leads back into Lacan and psychoanalysis, because no matter what, there will always be lack, because you will always have a leftover desire, because it doesn't feed that insecurity. It exists, and it predates you, and it will exist past your death.
Some people would say that there are people who don't have that though, and we find them in the incredibly isolated hunter-gatherer tribes, and we find them in the 150-ish plus thousands of human history that were pre-agricultural, and that they were biologically pretty much identical to us. And we assume that they don't have this. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying that I'm saying this, but I'm just saying that some people would make this argument. That it does seem like there is a biologically identical like form of humanity that doesn't have that same sense of like desperate need to innovate. And in fact, they feel a resistance towards it, because once we started innovating into agriculture and into eventually, you know, ideas of private property and territory and borders and markets and trade and blah 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 blah. Once we started innovating, it seems like it became almost impossible to turn back around, and it seems like we enjoyed it, but also like for the many years of history before that, I think it's like I think that we must have chosen not to innovate because there's too much time, right? There's too much time.
I don't know if I would call it innovation so much as I would call it like we have seen what it is like to die without resources. Therefore, it is a fundamental human fear to not have resources or not have enough.
I don't know, like,
I think once those needs are fulfilled, they still leave one lacking. And that's what it kind
yes.
of all alludes to, this like fundamental void within that makes you feel as though like I should have everything. Why don't I feel whole?
Yeah. I mean, I think that that is the like central fear and the philosophy of people who live in our world. But when I think about the um in in one of my favorite philosophical texts, Ishmael, he would just call them the levers. He would say we are the takers and they are the levers, and I do like that that word for it. And he's not solely talking about hunter gatherers, because he's also talking about just people before we would have called them that, and probably some very early agriculturalists as well, and maybe even and definitely like early pastoralists. But the levers, he would say that, you know, whenever people die without resources, as you say, that it is seen as like a sadness, but not necessarily an injustice or something that needs to be like solved through innovation or domination, just something that needs to be like mourned and taken as a season.
Yeah.
In those other forms of humanity. And I don't know, like, because I've never lived in that world. I don't know how they handle the death of their children. I don't know how they handle starvation when it surely happens. I don't know how they feel. All I know is how we would feel, and I think we would feel exactly like what you're saying. Like, oh, this
They're
is
scared little animals.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it ties into Ernst Becker's like denial of death and like God, what is it? Terror management theory. There we go. But it's that's like the psychological premise. But yeah, I'm just like perhaps I'm a little cynical on the matter. I don't know. Becker might have made me a little cynical on the matter, but
Yeah.
it is it all does tie the logic in. It's Peter Frege, Ernst Becker, God, what are the name of the two brothers that wrote How Much Is Enough? The Epicurean economists. They're still alive, I believe, but they're quite good. All of that kind of like leading into what I want to say is my general theories as it relates to scarcity, insecurity, human insecurity, and the like desire for more being
Yeah.
fundamental to what makes humans constantly like move forward. Because if
Yeah.
you remove that ambition, it kind of causes like a pause state or like maybe a
Yeah,
freeze.
and like an equilibrium.
Yeah,
or
and I think
balance.
humans aren't well adjusted to that.
I think humans
I think
could
we
be.
have it.
I think there's
I
a
think
version of humanity that, and look, this is, I'm
no,
gonna
I
have
agree
another
with you.
hot
I
take.
agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think that when more women are in power, sometimes that's the kind of thing that happens.
I think we need an ability to, well, one, we need to address scarcity as it stands right now because you know, I think we had like this discussion not too long ago about like the morality of having too much capital.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're getting into a huge tangent right now, and I
Yeah.
don't know if chat wants to hear this.
Well, I think it's just like to me, it's always just the question of, is there a version of humanity that chooses balance and that chooses equilibrium rather than like the pursuit of greater, more foreign, like, you know, technologies, mastery of some greater form of nature. And I think there is a version of humanity that does choose that. That's just as smart and wise and passionate and artistic as we are. I don't know exactly what it looks like when that version of humanity is like enacted. But I do believe that it's possible. I don't think that we're playing that game right now, though. I think that the game that
I don't
we're
think so
in
either.
is
Well, I
not.
think it's an. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that's it.
I think it's a non-advantageous one, but also I think people usually who are the most spiritually inclined
Yeah.
are usually the people that I, at least anecdotally, see in those positions. And also it's never a position of, because once again one must essentially reject hierarchy to an extent. And it's a very ascetic lifestyle that one must follow, but also it is, and in my eyes I find that extremely virtuous. And it's prevalent in Eastern cultures, Western cultures, Middle Eastern cultures. Like it's, I do think that these people exist. I don't think that they're ever in positions of power because hierarchy as it stands does not benefit them to be in those positions, and also hierarchy as it stands right now in the popular consensus does not acknowledge that as a form of power.
Right. Yeah. I think I agree. I think it just makes me sad.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Be happy to. West inserted himself into the case. When Ruby was, the day of the shooting, the day after the shooting, West approached the judge in the preliminary hearings and asked to be assigned to the case. He was refused by the judge. After Ruby was convicted at his first trial, an associate of West, Dr. Hubert Winston Smith, was a psychiatrist and an attorney, took over Ruby's defense for his appeal, and he had already discussed appointing Ruby to the case, or excuse me, West to the case. And as you said, West examined Ruby alone at the jail cell and emerged to announce that in the preceding 48 hours he had had an acute psychotic break from which he would never recover. He had been declared competent to stand trial the first time by a panel of, I think, 8 psychiatrists. This psychotic break lasted until his death in 1967. 2 months after West examined him, Ruby testified for the first time and only time to the Warren Commission. It was the first time he ever publicly was supposed to say what his reasons were for shooting Oswald. The testimony had to be halted because he was babbling incoherently, and as Arlen Specter, who was a counsel to the commission, wrote in his memoirs, he pulled him aside and said that they were cutting off the arms and legs of children in Albuquerque and El Paso, and he said he was making no sense whatsoever. West, in his letters to Gottlieb from 1953, discussed experiments where he would induce specific mental disorders in people without their awareness. A year before the Kennedy assassination, he publicly spoke in Oklahoma City and talked about his LSD experiments inducing psychiatric breaks and psychosis in people with the use of LSD, which of course later contradicted what he told the New York Times when he said he never used LSD in animal experimentation.
What an interesting connection. I'm out of time, but I'll be now recognizing Mr. Burleson from Missouri for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your diligent work on this, and hopefully we will hear back from the CIA on those boxes of documents that have so many questions about. Dr. Kinszer and Mr. O'Neill, the CIA created MKUltra in 1953, supposedly out of fear that the Soviet Union and China had developed mind control capabilities. Let me go back a little bit further. So
Here.
one of my questions has to do with the event that happened in 1951 in August in France. There was a bakery that I guess the people that lived in that community, over 250, some say 300 people were poisoned from the bread. It was determined that that was LSD that was causing all of these people to hallucinate. Some people died. Is there any connection, Dr. Kinszer, to that event? And was that something that either inspired the MKUltra program or the MK Naomi program, or is that something that we were involved in even that early on?
I would turn that question back to you. I don't think anybody really knows the full story of what happened at that time, in that town in France. That the United States could have been involved, that this could have been part of what was then called Operation Artichoke, the predecessor for MKUltra, seems to me not beyond the realm of possibility. There's a lot of overlap between the ergot enzyme that is the basis of LSD and certain rye and wheat funguses that can be used in breads.
I heard about
Was
this.
that something intentional? Was it something the Americans were involved in? I have my suspicions, but just based on my background as a journalist, I don't operate on suspicions. So I would love to see more investigation of that episode.
My next question has to do.
Want to make a silly joke about the French.
Yes.
We love our bread. We love our bread. And therefore, if you fuck up a baguette, and also I believe the strain associated with what happened in this town in France. God, what was it again? I'm sorry, I'm gonna look it up so I don't get the details wrong because I feel like it's so stupid. But French town, because they said it was like an LSD poisoning, but I don't think it wasn't that. It was like something as similar to chemically, but arises naturally in like wheat and or rye products.
Interesting. Oh, wait, I actually feel like I've maybe heard of this too. You're ringing bells in my brain.
Bread,
Da-da-da,
death.
bells are ringing. Hear
Incident.
the something, bells are ringing.
Yeah,
How the heck does that sound?
1951 Pont-Saint-Esprit mass poisoning. Foodborne illness wasn't was never le pain maudit. Incident occurred in the southern French town. Oh, thank you for the follow. At least 5 to 7 people dead, over 250 residents violently ill, locally experienced terrifying hallucinations, convulsions after eating temporary psychosis after eating contaminated flour baked into bread. Yeah.
Dang.
And also that's what happens when you, I believe, don't properly it's not bleach your flour, but like properly heat your flour. That's why you're not supposed to eat raw flour or something. But maybe I'm getting that wrong.
Huh.
But essentially, oh, thank you for the follow. For decades it was attributed to ergotism caused by eating rye or grain contaminating with a toxic naturally occurring fungus, Clavicepis purpura, that produces compounds similar to LSD. There we go. But it's a compound similar to LSD, so that was fucking weird for them to bring up a weird leading question there. But
Yeah. Huh.
yeah, it might have been. It could be related to, but also it is a naturally occurring thing in rye and grain. So it's not even the first time that, like, to be fair, that scale is odd, but
Right.
once again, if you have a bunch of people eating from the same French bakery, like, French people, we love our bread. I don't know. But it's more so associated with the I think it was weird, the verbiage that he used there, that he said it was and not the toxin.
Yeah.
I think that's odd.
I think that's odd as well. All right. Let's see.
With once the program began, I think one of the most shocking things we determined is the Operation Midnight Climax that occurred in the early 1950s, 60s, where the CIA had safe houses, and there was, I would say, Dr. Kinszer, I mean, this is extremely disturbing behavior that was happening, where you had American citizens who were being lured into these like brothels and then dosed with an hallucinogenic and then filmed during their sex acts. Was there anyone prosecuted for these crimes?
No, there have been no prosecutions for any crime related to MKUltra, as far as I know. To me, the remarkable aspect of that Operation Midnight Climax was that there wasn't even the pretense of scientific experimentation. The person watching behind the one-way mirror was a grossly overweight drug officer sitting on a portable toilet and drinking cocktails out of a pitcher. There was nobody there that was a scientist or somebody who understood sexual behavior or human psychology. So there was no science involved in it at all. I can add a little footnote. When I was researching Poisoner-in-Chief, I came across a document in which one of the officers involved in setting up that program, Operation Midnight Climax, said that Sidney Gottlieb himself used to fly from Washington out to inspect the project regularly and always asked that women be provided for him. So
that was my next question. Do you think that the agents were involved in the sexual encounters?
Well, and could that have actually been the reason why the bordello was opened? There was no prospect of any serious scientific result out of that project, given the personnel who were overseeing it. So,
I do know a little bit more about this one because perhaps he's a and maybe I'm being a little bit pedantic here, but I think he might be misrepresenting again, because well, it was the other guy that was misrepresenting before, but like he might be misrepresenting this because I remember essentially they were trying to make essentially sleeper agents out of these women, and that was what was written down in the documents because they were trying to essentially have them be so that they could like essentially go abroad overseas to like quote unquote be honeypots. And when let me look this up
I
just
heard
to make
about
sure
that
that
as
my
well.
information is correct. Yeah, so it wasn't like I wouldn't say that they were just doing it like a brothel where they weren't checking in on the subjects.
Well, maybe they had an intention, but they had no supervisors with any expertise.
Well, I feel like this is because he's saying this, and it seems like once again because he's writing a book here, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that I find the claim a little odd, and it seems more like more slanderous than it does advantageous to what they're trying to uncover here.
Gotcha. Yeah, because it's like, well, if they didn't have any professionals, then who was doing it at all? An unprofessional? Like,
yeah, like why
like,
would they? What is the point?
Yeah.
Why was this signed off on? Who sent money to this? Like what was going on here? Like were they just doing did they just have a brothel to have a brothel? Like and let me look up the sleeper agent brothel situation just so that I don't get my information wrong. But
Hulkzilla asked.
Oh yeah, Operation Midnight Climax. There we go.
Nice. Hulkzilla asked, "What is this hearing getting done exactly?" I think it's in the word hearing. You know, it's like making this information more public in front of a national audience and calling for some sort of justice to be done.
Yeah. CIA was MKUltra's notorious sub-project Operation Midnight Climax was a CIA mind control that is utilized safe houses disguised as brothels operating in San Francisco and New York during the 1950s and early 60s. The CIA hired sex workers or unsuspecting men to government safe houses where they were secretly drugged with LSD. Primary goal was to investigate whether drugs like LSD combined with such encounters could be truth serums to coax out secrets from individuals, mechanisms, brainwashing, and creating sleeper agents. Yippee! My brain is not dumb.
There you go. Okay.
So, I don't think that I think that might have been maybe it wasn't meant to be, but it seems as though it might be a misrepresentation of what actually was going down there because I remember very specifically reading like they were trying to do these experiments with LSD, and also why involve LSD in a brothel if not to do some sort of experimentation in the first place? Have a regular brothel then, but
right.
yeah.
I feel like the claim he's making is that there wasn't someone who had any kind of expertise like on site, let's say, during like the normal like run of this experiment or something. But yeah, maybe he'll say more. Let's see.
Those CIA officers, particularly Gottlieb, involved in overseeing Operation Midnight Climax, certainly were able to take advantage of what it offered.
Thank you. And my last question, first I want to say thank you to Mr. O'Neill.
Okay,
the book
Gottlieb
Chaos, I checked it out from the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate your work there. I was intrigued by one of the statements that you made based on your research of the MKUltra program. They were actually successfully able to replace memories. And because of that, I'm wondering if, and Dr. Kinszer, you can chime in if you have any knowledge of this, did the program continue, and do you think that the program in some aspect is still continuing today?
You're asking if the program continued after 1973 when it was halted, supposedly. I honestly, I can't imagine.
I like how literally all of them keep saying like something like that, supposedly or allegedly, like to talk about
Allegedly, supposedly,
the
all
end.
the legal
All-
disclaimers
yes.
you gotta put in there.
All of these people believe that something like MKUltra is still happening.
I don't feel like I'd put it past anyone. Also, hi Genesis Seth. Also, sorry chat, I'm not ignoring.
Yes, hello chat. Hello chat.
That it didn't, though, because the technology that they worked to establish over 20, 25 years and spent more money on than any operation the CIA ever conducted was successful. I imagine it's being used. I have no evidence of it being used, so it's a complete assumption.
I would just add that one of the letters to which Mr. O'Neill referred contains a quote from Mr. Gottlieb saying that these experiments were necessary, quote, in these times. I think it's important to put yourself back in that mindset where the United States felt that it was under such overwhelming threat that the loss of a few lives or a few hundred lives was a small price to pay. Commitment to a great cause is one of the most fundamental justifications for committing immoral acts. And patriotism is among the most noble of causes. It can be twisted, and it can be used as an excuse to carry out research under the guise that this is simply research we're doing to protect ourselves against others. And I think that is a mindset that may still be active in some parts of our government.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chair. My time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Burleson. I now recognize myself. Thank you to the witnesses for coming today to testify about MKUltra. Dr. Genexi, you said you worked for the NIH, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you left in 2025?
That is correct.
I noticed during your opening statement that you had nothing to say about the content of this hearing being about MKUltra. Your statement seemed to be based more on your issues with this administration's attempt to reform and rein in the NIH. Is that a fair assessment of your opening statement?
My opening statement was talking about the destruction of the NIH and cancellation of grants and political control of the NIH.
Would you deny that the NIH had involvement in the funding of the Wuhan lab?
I don't have any knowledge about any funding related to the Wuhan lab.
So are you denying the NIH?
I'm
Okay, so he was
Whoa!
like, so I feel like your opening statement had nothing to do with anything. And then she was like, well, it had maybe something to do with something. And then he said, well, what about this other random thing?
Yeah. Also, why is everyone saying that this wasn't a good, like, fucking trial? He just fucking threw a random-ass curveball in there saying that the American government was involved with the fucking Wuhan thing. What?
Yeah.
basically here to talk about what's happening right now at the NIH and how we really should be letting science be driven by scientists and not by politicians.
Well,
because that's how we fund cures and make health progress.
Well, with all due respect, ma'am.
Wait, but why is she not?
We were told to trust this.
Maybe I misheard, but like, she's denying any knowledge, but she's not outright denying.
No, of course not.
And I mean, to an extent, she can't because she doesn't know what she doesn't know. But also, like,
Yeah.
the way that was phrased was a little weird.
Yeah, yeah. It was completely weird. It was completely weird.
What the fuck?
She's saying, I can neither confirm nor deny. Let's go back. Let's change the subject to the one that I changed it to a while ago.
Yeah. that was really interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Science. And then in the aftermath, we've all found out that most of what we were told during COVID was a complete lie, and it wasn't scientific at all.
The number one thing that I think that we're doing to destroy trust in American science right now is canceling clinical trials in the middle of those clinical trials. This does incredible harm to the patients who are receiving experimental treatments, and it really destroys the trust that we have in how do we recruit patients for future trials if they are knowing that their trials could just be simply canceled for political reasons.
Right. I don't think anybody up here would deny that there's never been anything good that's come out of the NIH and that you guys have done some good work, but you just brought up trust. Do you think the NIH has a trust problem based on how they handled COVID?
No, I do not. I think that the NIH is beloved by the American people because we know about the advances in human health and cancer treatments and heart disease and diabetes and all of the health gains that...
So scientists have always depended on political power and political money to do things.
Yeah.
And they, like, the idea of attributing, like, innovations in cancer research to the United States like government is like almost insulting to me, because the scientists did that with money from the US government because they had to beg and plead for money for decades.
Yeah.
And who else was gonna like that is something that obviously taxpayer money goes towards that, and we're okay with it. Like, all of us want funding in cancer research. Like, all of us, most people
Most
want
people,
funding
I mean, the
in
people that
cancer
are
research.
that own the fucking rights to, well, I'm gonna say, like, I'm gonna over, like, own the rights to fucking cancer cures, quote unquote. Maybe they don't
Sure.
want this research, but fucking, like,
Yeah, but like
yeah, I'd
this
say
this is
most
an
people would agree that
accomplishment
this is
of like the American people and the American ethos, and like this is an
Yeah.
accomplishment of the passion and genius of these scientists. If the government hadn't funded this, it would be so much less than morally neutral. It would be like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah. Well, also, like, just where did this come from? And also, why the fuck did he? Because she took it to, like, the national.
I mean,
When
so
it was just,
this
it was
is
literally
like,
just about the CIA thing, and then she took it to, like, the national health level, and then he took it to the geopolitical, biological, like, fucking
right,
tangent, and it's like, whoa,
right.
where did
No,
that come from? And she's not, like, she's still trying to take it back to her original point, but it's like, she's not saying, like, hey, can you, like, shut the fuck up? This is irrelevant. Like,
right.
she's still, like, just being like, well, I can't talk about that, but here's this,
Yeah. And
which
yeah.
I find so odd.
The idea of saying like the NIH is responsible for all this stuff as well. It's like saying that we should all be all of humanity should be grateful to the Catholic Church for understanding like surgeries. Cuz it was a lot of doctors that were being like funded by the Vatican in like the 13 and 14 and 15 and 1600s who
Why
like
don't we just
who like
thank
figured
all
out early
of them for
medicine.
surgery?
Yeah, but like obviously we're not doing that because obviously the church did that because the church had all the money, and like this is like a good thing, but it's like an obvious thing. We don't give laurels to the church for funding medicine. We should not be giving laurels to the government for funding medicine. This is like the most obvious
This is
thing.
the bare minimum. Yeah. The bare fucking minimum.
Yes. So yeah, she gets no laurels for the NIH lady.
Sorry, no.
The research has produced.
Well, I think you're wrong, ma'am. I think that the public
Me
has
too.
a serious mistrust issue with the NIH. You
I also
deny that
agree
the
with,
NIH
like,
tried
okay,
to.
if we can pause really quick, because his fucking accusation is crazy. And also, I was surprised that no one brought it up earlier as it related to, because we talked very briefly about, like, the insertion of, like, essentially, because we talked about the popularity of essentially psyops as it relates to social media. And we're not talking about the geopolitical aspect of psyops, in which we have a division for it in the American government. We have it. There's another one in Russia. There's another one in China. Well, there's several, I believe, in Russia, but there's like little pinks in China who are also. I think they might just be like I don't know to what extent that they may or may not be paid, because once again, fucking the information on this is like all over the place.
Yeah.
But you know, we know very well that there are geopolitical actors in this field, so it's just like we are talking about psyops on the level of the geopolitical stage now, and he's bringing it to the geopolitical when it's like that's the more recent thing, because now we're actually doing it onto other populations via the internet.
Right.
So we don't need LSD for it anymore, apparently. But fucking yeah, that's what a weird, it brought me back to that thought process because I didn't bring it up earlier, but it's just like what a weird thing to say, what a weird thing not to bring up also, and how much of that are we funding to other countries,
Yeah.
even privately, I guess. But I don't know.
Me either.
Cover up the origin of COVID.
I'm not here to testify about that. That's not my area of science. I have no knowledge of that.
I believe her
Do you believe that the NIH supported
on that.
masking and social distancing when there was really no science to support that?
What I'm more concerned
What?
about is what's happening right now.
Okay, that was
knowledge
just
of
a
that.
weird.
Wait. Yeah.
do you believe that the NIH supported masking and social distancing when there was really no science to support that?
What I'm more concerned about is
There was science to support that, though.
I have heard more and more people say that there was no science to support it, and I haven't looked into it. It seems pretty...
Well, this is what we have the internet for.
I know, and it's also like, that's kind of how we have always dealt with illness, like social distancing, like that's just, it's a respiratory illness. It's like, of course. This seems like, just don't make me question.
Well, also that's what we did during previous pandemics.
Cycle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I have heard more and more people say that there was not enough evidence or whatever, but I don't know.
I mean,
just know
it's
like
historical precedent.
Yeah, it's historical precedent. When people in your family are sick, like you stay away from them. But I think
no, it is actually well studied that it's wearing a well-fitting, high-quality mask does help protect you and those around you because it traps respiratory droplets.
Reduces transmission.
Maintaining distance also helps limit the respiratory droplets of the virus. So it's not it's like a really weird, baseless claim that he just kind of threw.
Yeah.
what's happening right now to destroy the Biomedical Research Institute that has been the envy of the world. And right now, we're ceding our leadership in biomedical research to China. That's what's happening right now.
What about covering up harmful side effects of vaccines and the role that the NIH has played in that? What do you have to say about that, ma'am?
The U.S. history of human subjects protection has evolved greatly. Numerous research improprieties from the 50s to the 70s in the United States, including the Tuskegee syphilis study, forced Congress to establish formally federally
I'm not asking you about that.
rules.
You know what I'm asking you about? I'm asking you about
Is he
how
just like
NIH
going on an anti-vax rant
Obviously, this is
right
supposed
now?
to be a hearing about MKUltra, but when you gave your opening statement, and I don't even know why you were called to this hearing because you didn't offer anything about MKUltra. But since you are here and you're
Whoa,
going
he
to
needs
defend
to
the
shut
NIH,
the
I'm going to call
fuck
you out
up,
on
dude.
it.
He's being weird.
Yeah, I agree.
Why are they
Do you see now what I'm talking about when you say that the NIH doesn't have integrity
I'm
problems
sorry,
and
can you
trust
pause
issues?
really quick? This guy's pissing me off.
Yeah, no, he's pissing me
Like,
off
we literally
too.
just paused, looked it up really quick. We're like, yes, this is consensus, also historic precedent,
Yeah.
that it's good to socially distance when there is a pandemic.
Yeah, and it's intuitive. I think sometimes our intuition is right. And like I think probably a lot of the questions that have been asked have been like about people who are like asymptomatic and presumably like healthy individuals. Like if you're in a room of healthy people, do we need to be masked and social distancing? And there just is conflicting information, and
Well, I think that's even like just a very specific. Like, it's just what the fuck is he? Why is he even bringing this up?
Yeah, I think regardless of whether or not we should or shouldn't, based on the science, I think probably it shouldn't be, nothing we do should be illegal if we're in a private room of healthy people.
Yeah.
So probably the law shouldn't be involved in it. And when it comes to like, what is our social responsibility? That's something that we should negotiate, personally with those friends and with those family. And there is conflicting information, and you just got to sift through it. You got to figure out what you believe in and sift through it and talk to your friends and family.
I mean, also on top of that, I just am kind of confused as to why the fuck he went on this like random fucking rant.
Yeah.
And also just like, why was it weird and anti-vax? Like, to what end? Why? Why
Yeah,
the fuck would you do this?
He was like, okay, miss, you have nothing to say that's relevant to this, so I'm gonna do nothing relevant to this.
Yeah, here's something even more relevant to the entire conversation fucking had.
You made
like,
all of us
actual information that
uncomfortable.
was
I'm
relevant.
gonna make you really uncomfortable.
Like, what the fuck? Also, it was just like a really weird move, and also he was quite rude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That really rubbed me wrong. It's just like, also,
Looks like
still
that's the
weird
end.
that like
The
she
end of
didn't
him.
respond to the whole we don't know how much we were involved with Han, but also like his whole thing about like, why are you denying the effects of like the possible negative effects of vaccines? And she's like, she didn't talk about that, period.
Yeah.
What?
She's obviously not
Why are you bringing
prepared
this
to
up?
talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, she brought up something completely different that she has literal notes in front of her. Why are you bringing this up as though it's
Yeah.
in like at all relevant to the literal hearing going on? But anyway, yeah. on that tangent, let's get back to the hearing.
Did you hear the applause in this room? That should tell you right now that you're pretty tone deaf to what the public thinks about how the NIH handled COVID and the cover-up, not only the funding of it, but the cover-up involved in the aftermath. Can you acknowledge that?
I'm sorry, that's not my understanding.
Oh.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge Ms. Boebert for the next round of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to two of our witnesses who are here to actually talk on our subject here today. Mr. Kinszer, in your book, Poisoner
can
in
they
Chief,
just stop
you
being
describe how
shady?
Project MKUltra was
No,
authorized by
they
CIA
can't.
Director Alan Dulles in April of 1953 as an umbrella program for research into the covert use of biological and chemical materials for mind control and interrogation. What specific geopolitical and intelligence concerns, particularly regarding alleged Soviet and Chinese, quote, brainwashing and Korean War prisoners, drove this authorization? And how did Cindy Gottlieb's unique background and personality and worldwide view shape the program's direction and methods and ethical boundaries?
Let me start by answering your second question about Gottlieb.
Sydney who?
Gottlieb, Sidney Gottlieb is
Oh.
Gottlieb. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did all this because he had a girl's name.
Yep, that's what happens.
Yep.
That's why I named
Was
Chad
a very different
Alex.
person from all of the other senior CIA officers of that era. Most of them came from silver spoon backgrounds. They went to the same prep schools and the same Ivy League colleges and belonged to the same yacht clubs and worked for the same law firms and international banks. Sidney Gottlieb was the son of Orthodox Jewish refugees from Central Europe. He had a limp. He had a stutter. He went to Hebrew school. He was so different from all of the other officers. And upon reflection, I think this may not have been an accident. I think that people at the CIA understood that whoever had this job was going to be doing some awful, terrible things that would be very bloody, that they might become known, and it might be necessary to blame it all on somebody. And they didn't want to have to blame it all on one of their own. So Gottlieb actually became the person on whom everything was blamed. In fact, when he testified in secret here in Congress in the 1970s,
do you mind pausing?
He
Weirdly
good take.
weirdly pro-Semitic
Yeah.
take.
Yeah. That could have really not been.
It could have gone really
it
wrong
almost
really
was
fast.
not.
I saw it going there and I was like, oh God, what is he about to say?
Same.
Weirdly pro-Semitic,
Yeah.
saying that Gottlieb was a scapegoat, because yeah, obviously multiple people were involved in this, but also like,
Yeah.
whoa. I'm laughing out of relief, I guess.
Yeah, no, me too. I was just taken on a wild emotional ride by this guy. Okay.
Wow. He sure knows how to set up a statement.
Yeah. He should be a writer. He should try putting pen to paper sometime. Yep.
Yeah.
complain that there were documents on which various signatures had been redacted, but his alone had remained. So is a way of diverting attention away from the institutional responsibility of the CIA and trying to blame it on one crazy person. As for the international situation at the time, I think it's very important to understand this because there is a sort of a parallel to today. The CIA misinterpreted several key incidents in the world, including those to which you referred, the trial of the Cardinal Mindszenty, and then in Hungary, and then the return of Korean War prisoners. Neither of those episodes really had to do with mind control, but in the CIA they were interpreted that way. And this gave the CIA a reason to pretend that its research was purely defensive. So I think when you consider the world situation and the sense in Washington that we're surrounded by enemies, that becomes a very dangerous environment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for the follow. This is literally just called a security dilemma. This is geopolitics,
Yeah.
literally like international relations 101. Like you take this is a security dilemma. This is fundamental to any understanding of how geopolitics functions on like the geopolitical scale.
Yep.
So it's just like no shit, it's going to be escalation. Of course it's going to be it is technically a rational action within this field, unfortunately. But also it is like I don't know why he's saying it like it's a I think the take that Gottlieb was a scapegoat for everything is fairly accurate, especially if his signature was the only one that was not redacted.
It makes a lot more sense. It makes a lot more sense for considering how much was done, and considering that there are unfortunately national motives for this, and that he was hired and he wasn't just a crazy serial torturer in his basement.
And also like apparently according to him there are just German Nazi doctors that are continuing this. So
Yeah.
what? But we don't know their names.
Yeah, of course not.
Conspiracy theories stem from the growth of the covert sphere. There's a great contradiction in American life that we pretend to uphold certain principles at home and abroad, but it's evident to many Americans that we actually operate in opposition to those principles. And we operate by secret and anti-democratic means. That contributes to suspicion of government. And the very existence of MKUltra proves that some of the wildest fantasies about secret government research are actually close to reality. That makes the paranoid mindset seem ever more rational.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to cut off several of my questions now, but that was very intriguing, so I wanted you to continue. MKUltra ultimately encompassed at least 149 sub-projects involving more than 80 institutions, universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, often funded through cutout foundations to conceal CIA sponsorship. Can you detail how these funding and operational security mechanisms worked in practice? And then just another subset, if I don't get back to asking a question, did the CIA or...
It's actually like something that's not, this has a lot of historical precedent within the US government, but also every government. But like when you talk about God, what was it? I watched there's this historian on YouTube whose name he's fantastic though, but he does these really long series. He's like a PhD, he teaches high school but also university. And it was on God, it was like okay, actually just keep going because the name escapes me right now and it's going to bother me. So
Okay.
right now,
Okay.
government or any of these entities ever say that what they were doing with MKUltra and mind control were productive or for the betterment of humanity? Did they ever make those claims? Thank you.
That's a good question.
As for your second question, I'm not aware, other than in private communications, that the CIA ever claimed that it had made great advances under MKUltra because it largely denied that MKUltra ever existed. As for the foundations, yeah, these are, Sidney Gottlieb created a couple of bogus foundations. They're called cutouts in CIA slang. And these are foundations that appear to be independent, but actually are fully funded and controlled by the CIA. It was those foundations that approached hospitals and clinics and asked them to become involved in research, particularly into LSD. So many of the institutions where these experiments took place did not even realize that those foundations were actually covers for the CIA.
Thank you very much.
I think like just another thing that has constantly been on my mind for like the past couple years is just that whenever structurally stuff sucks, whenever the material conditions are bad, or if you're just part of a corrupt system, in order to not be like part of the problem,
Dan, I just arrived. Catch me up.
You have,
sorry.
It's okay. You have to be like, oh, go ahead.
Someone in chat's asking what happened, like little catch-up sesh.
Oh, okay.
We're watching the MKUltra hearings. Oh, thank you, Seth Davis for subscribing. But also, yes, Mr. Bonte, it was Sean Munger, and it was the Iran con. So it is it's a really good deep dive into how the government hides money very fucking poorly.
Yeah.
And thankfully this was all recorded in the actual White House. I'm pretty sure Nixon.
Yeah.
I might misremember because once again I watched this video like 2 years ago at this point, but it was the Iran Contra. And so it's a fantastic video, genuinely. I would suggest that everyone it, and it's Sean Munger is quite well versed on the matter. He keeps it very, very interesting at like a very high level, like very macro, and also he doesn't get too much into the militaristic aspect, which is he keeps it to like the geopolitical, interpersonal, which I find more interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just it was freaking crazy, yeah. So we have a historical precedent of doing this. It's not unfounded.
Right.
And also he's acting as though like, oh, this is kind of just like a crazy instance one-off. No, we've been doing this. We've been funding other countries, funding military operations that are like essentially technically terrorist organizations or end up becoming terrorist organizations in other countries. We always find little ways to make it look a little legal on paper, and then you digging in, you're like, oh man, why are all these papers shredded? So yeah, Sean Munger's series are fantastic. SeanMunger on YouTube if you guys want to watch the Iran-Contra one, but there's also a bunch of other ones that are just as good. But I think he does even one on the Manson. But yeah, my favorite one is like the fall of the monarchy, like the fall of the monarchical period in Europe, which was very interesting and did a fantastic job going into it.
Very interesting.
But yeah,
cool. Yeah, I think what I was saying before, and this might be also a little bit related to what you were talking about with how the government is like really sloppy with its money. Whenever you are part of a structure like this, there's two elements to this. In order to make any change, you can't just be good. You have to be like extraordinarily good. Like you have to go out of your way, because if people working in these hospitals, and they're just a doctor, they're not signing the contracts, they're just a doctor, but they are overhearing conversations and they're working with patients, and they're maybe just doing a check-in on a patient that's not their patient, and they're worried that something's wrong. They have like a moral obligation to be extraordinarily and riskily good in that moment, and to go above and beyond and like save that patient. And the nurses have that. And that's really scary, and that's really hard, because that's unfair, because they are not in power. They do not have the power in the situation. They could lose their job. They could be wrong. And they could be overreacting, and the patient could be fine, and there could be nothing bad happening. And it's you could make similar comparisons to like if you're in a time of war, and the government is like rationing all of your food in order to feed the soldiers or whatever, and then there's like a starving kid at your door, and you have your own starving kids, and so then you turn away that other starving kid. Like you feel like you're doing something that you have to do because everyone is starving. And I mean, depending on the severity of the starvation here, you might be right. But if it's like, if it's a question of like your family loses comfortability in order to like save the life of a starving child, then you have an obligation there to be extraordinarily good and to sacrifice your comfort. Right now, when it comes to feeding the hungry, usually, you know, people, if you're on Twitch right now, usually it's not a question of like sacrificing our comfort. But even when it is a question of like sacrificing your comfort, when it's a question of sacrificing like your family's health, like you there is an obligation there to go out of your way to be extraordinarily good to the people who are right in front of you and asking you for help. And when it comes to like the money mismanagement thing here, I feel like that's also related. It's all a quest. All of this has to do with like the banality of evil, which is that like Hannah Arendt book.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Which is and part of the banality of evil is like whenever people have so much power, like the government or financial institutions or massive corporations, they are often messy because they're not afraid. They're often messy with their money. You know, the guy who was on that island was like using Gmail to send unencrypted emails across the world to leaders of governments about awful things. Just Gmail.
Gmail.
Just Gmail. And yeah, like
keep it open. Keep it hackable.
Yeah.
Keep it owned by a large corporation.
Exactly. And it's because they have so much power that they're not afraid. But it's people like you know, it's us in the underclass who are like using Proton Mail. And
we're like, what if we get found out?
Yeah, what if someone finds out about like, I don't know, whatever, like random small nothing stuff.
Yeah. No, I think there is something to be said. The mismanagement of money, I do agree with that, but I think ironically in the Iran-Contra video that I'm talking about, there is the only reason that it even was brought to light, and also like brought to light in which there was actual action done because of it, was because of a paper trail and the bureaucracy associated. And I assume it's the same thing here. Well, it is the same thing here because they found it because of financial documents.
Yeah.
It's just like it's so goofy.
Yep.
And also just like the mismanagement of it is just like the non-questioning of superiors telling you what to do with said money.
Yeah.
Why is it signed off on in the first place? Who is charismatic enough to get that approved of?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? How
Yeah.
did we get here? How did we get here?
I had a friend who was specifically an auditor for churches. And and I really enjoyed listening to him talk. he was
I am so curious about that.
He was an accountant, like that's like what he was professionally. And so he started off as an accountant for churches, and then he turned into an auditor specifically for churches. But yeah,
does that count as a nonprofit?
Huh? Oh,
does that count?
They make money though.
Well, yeah, nonprofits also make money.
Yeah. So they still I don't know exactly how the legality of like the tax structure and stuff works, but they are supposed to pay something, or like they at least have to file something. I don't know exactly how it works, but yeah, he was like an auditor for churches, or maybe church organizations or something like that.
Interesting.
But yeah, he would have a lot of like spiritual conversations with pastors, helping them decide like practical money management things, because they needed to have a conversation spiritually, and they needed to have because he was a Christian. This friend of mine, he was a very good, devout, Christian, like evangelical, hardcore, and
follow your dreams, man.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that what you're saying is true about how like churches aren't supposed to make money, and I think in my head I always, even though I know that to be true, I also think in my head sometimes like, but Protestant churches do make money. And he wasn't Catholic, so I think I always I just assumed like, oh, the Catholic Church doesn't need auditors because we have such a crazy infrastructure that's already very clearly delineated. But like all these different Protestant churches, they have like their own different financial structure. I don't know if they're all nonprofits. I don't know how it works.
Tuxedo Mask put a super chat that said they're profitable nonprofits.
Profitable nonprofits, so true. Yeah, I don't know how it all works. I don't know. I don't know their designation. But yeah, like these pastors or these church ladies or whoever, they needed to have a conversation with an accountant or an auditor who like had a spiritual mindset, and who could like have a conversation with all of the Christianese like included, while also telling them how to save money, how to use their money responsibly. And also he would call churches out and be like, you cannot be spending your money on this, you cannot be pocketing this money, this is going to get you in trouble, whatever.
I mean, I figured that might be somewhat of an issue with some churches, because especially as it relates to things that become scandals later on. I mean, I think as it relates to churches, for the most part, I like to believe in the general benevolence of them.
Yeah.
But sorry, I'm getting someone. I used to think nonprofit meant they made no money. Yeah, no. The nonprofits, not as it relates to churches, a lot of nonprofits make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. Look up how much the average director for a nonprofit makes in your state. That's a good one. I'll see how much they make in Florida. Not that I'm there anymore, but average non-profit director salary, Florida. Whoa!
Pierre says the government encourages them to file as nonprofits, but First Amendment means they are untouchable. Okay.
Wow, that's crazy. For nonprofit finance director in Florida, the average is around 127,000, and for metropolitan areas like Orlando, it's between 94,000 and 121,000.
Dang.
Yeah. So they just that's their salary. That's their salary. Because I have a friend that was doing consulting for nonprofits, and he's like, they make so much fucking money.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. All right. You ready?
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you. I now recognize Representative Mace from South Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Dr. Janexi, you work with the NIH, correct?
No, I
Again?
am no longer affiliated with the NIH.
When did you leave the NIH?
April of last year.
April of last year. Did you ever speak with Anthony Fauci or any of your NIH colleagues when you were there about the NIH's role in funding the Wuhan
Again?
Institute of Virology or the development of COVID-19 virus?
No,
Do you believe that the NIH or Dr. Fauci lied to the American people about COVID?
no,
Are you familiar with Dr. Fauci's
Wait.
statements to Congress about COVID?
no.
I'm sorry. Are they
You
do
don't
they
watch
bring
any
her on
of Dr. Fauci. You work at the
specifically
NIH and you didn't
because she had
watch
nothing
any
to
of
do with
Dr.
this?
Fauci's.
They
I
wanted
did not
to
work at
dunk
the
on
NIH.
COVID.
Okay. Do you think that the COVID shots harm American citizens?
No, I do not.
Do you think that the COVID shots cause turbo cancers?
No,
Have you read any, do you know if the NIH or NAID track COVID shot injuries or cancers or anything harmful from them?
I am not aware of any harmful tracking, and this is not my area of expertise, no.
What is your area of
Turbo
expertise?
cancer. I
I'm a
haven't heard
research
that word
psychologist.
before. Is that a
And I did not
conspiracy
work at
word that I
NIH.
haven't
And
heard
you're here
about
for what
before
reason?
yet?
Probably.
I
What
am
are
here to
these
testify
fucking people
about what is happening
doing?
to the NIH right now.
You're not here to testify about MKUltra?
I'm sorry. Could you pause?
I am not an
Did they bring her just so that she could not talk about? Because this seems like it's nothing to do. She has nothing to do with MKUltra.
I think that's literally what she's saying right now. Wait.
Okay, so it makes more sense that she came in and said something completely irrelevant to MKUltra, and then later on, now they're just grilling her about fucking COVID.
Yeah. No one likes her.
Turbo cancer is an insane statement, right, Mr. Bontu?
Yeah.
What? What is even a turbo cancer? Is it like an actual word?
Turbo Cancer Elite Pro Max.
I have the subscription for Turbo Cancer Plus.
Yeah, exactly.
I take Red 40 all the time with it.
Oh, heck yeah.
what is happening to the NIH right now.
You're not here to testify about MKUltra?
I am not an MKUltra expert,
Why did the Dems send you here if you're not an MKUltra expert?
but I am an expert in human subjects protection, which is related, and in the conduct of human subjects research.
Okay. But you don't know anything about MKUltra.
Why
which
did
is
the
purpose of
Dems
this
send
hearing.
you?
All right, so I have a couple questions for our witnesses who are here to talk about MKUltra, and thank you, gentlemen, Dr. Kinszer and Mr. O'Neill. What are some of the worst abuses that you're aware of in the MKUltra program?
I can start by just naming, I'll talk about one in particular that always sticks in my mind. In the federal prison in Lexington, Kentucky, a group of African-American inmates was segregated and fed what were described in the protocol as double, triple, and quadruple doses of LSD every day for 77 days.
Did they all survive?
We have no idea
Okay.
what happened to them. This has stuck with me ever since I wrote that book. What happened to them? Did they ever find out what was given to them? Did they think they were going crazy? Did they? I think if the,
Do you think we're still experimenting on prisoners or people in prison today?
I don't have any information about that.
Okay.
I'm hoping there'll be another book about
Mr.
what's
O'Neill,
happening now.
what are some of the worst abuses in MKUltra?
There were many. The Frank Olson case, which was referenced earlier, that was a murder. I don't believe that was a suicide. The motivation was because he
Tuxedo
was
Mask
going to be a whistleblower.
says
He worked at the
Fast and
CIA,
Furious
working on
14
the
Turbo
development of
Cancer.
He said what?
Tuxedo Mask gave us the beautiful super chat of Fast and Furious 14 Turbo Cancer.
Thank you. Thank you for that one.
Thank you, thank you.
biological weapons, and he was planning to go public and announce that the United States government was using biological weapons in the Korean War. And also, he was going to share what he knew about MKUltra experiments, including lethal experiments. And there's a documented case.
How many, gentlemen, how many people do you think died through the MKUltra program or were murdered?
No idea.
If those who died largely were outside the United States, many people were experimented to death in that safe house in Germany that I visited. And people in the neighborhood told me they knew what was going on in that house, and that people who were experimented to death are now buried in what used to be forest plots that are now covered
Do you
over
think
with
the German
apartments.
government knew what the U.S. government was doing? Do you think there was a
Wait, can you
partnership there or
pause?
knowledge?
Yes, there is.
is there, I mean, I really want to believe this guy because it's something that I fundamentally want to believe is true. But there's a part of me that's always skeptical that's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. These are some pretty sweeping claims that we have no, because he's also we've just we've I think we've like kind of debunked one of his claims, not debunked, but like it was proven to be a little misleading. Uh I think he might be perhaps a little not vindictive, but not vindictive. Like just generally a little like incendiary
Yeah.
in his recounting, and you know, it makes for a great story, but like at the same time, why it makes me feel as though it's getting the truth muddled in like a bit of an overzealous attempt to get it out there, but it makes me wonder like the ethics of doing such a thing.
Right, right, yeah. I think it is a court hearing. So whenever someone asks you what are the worst atrocities, it makes sense for your answer to be a little bit sensational.
Yeah.
I would feel much worse if he were just a content creator, like making a YouTube video about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like worse, you know, if I were to have bad faith, I would be like, okay, yeah, he's trying to sell his book right now, you know. But I think the fact that it is
I
a
really
court,
hope that's not the case.
I don't think it is, but I think the fact that it's a court hearing and he's finally talking to like lawmakers means that he is trying to be dramatic, not for us, but for them, to reach like their hearts and like hopefully break through to them. But that's because I'm being good faith.
Well, also, I think that they're asking leading questions as well, because that one
Yeah.
lawmaker, forgetting the name of, was chairperson,
Mhm.
asked the leading question of like, oh, they put LSD in the spread for sure, right? And he was like, yes, and like it was improv.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't LSD. That was a completely separate. Well, it was a separate toxin. It's related to LSD, but also it's like it's naturally occurring.
Right, right.
So why
Right,
make the
muddle the
story out to
truth,
be like
yeah.
that? Yeah, it just it leaves me with a little bit of like a but the
Yeah.
information being disclosed.
Right, it's like what's the agenda?
Yeah. And also they fucking also like they're being explicit with the whole Wuhan COVID-19 shit. So it's just like
Yeah.
I'm very now I'm extremely
Yeah, like it almost seems like another psyop. It's like, okay, it almost feels like they're shoehorning, and I don't know if this is true. This is a feeling. I'm talking about a feeling. I'm talking about a feeling and not a fact. Let it be known. But the
let it be known.
feeling is like they're shoehorning in this stuff in order to paint the NIH person as a representative of the Democrats, and in order to paint the anti-MKUltra people as representatives of the Republicans or the conservatives, which I don't think that the MKUltra thing should be a partisan issue.
I wow, something that was an atrocity towards the American people should not be partisan.
Yeah.
And also people abroad.
Yeah.
It was an atrocity for them as well. It should not be a
Yeah, no,
partisan issue.
literal war crimes, potentially.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I just, wow, how did we lose the plot so bad? When did we lose the plot this badly? Like, it feels like very much bread and circus.
Yeah, probably the printing press. That's when we lost the plot.
We lost the plot with the...
If I had to guess.
We're in for the goddamn schism.
Yep.
There's a memo that was written by the German Secret Service to Konrad Adenauer, the Chancellor of Germany, telling him Americans are here capturing citizens, capturing people and conducting extreme experiments which are in violation of German law. And Adenauer decided to put that aside and not to
I
investigate.
have one more
further.
question because I have 15 seconds. Is this a massive cover-up by the U.S. government?
It's certainly a cover-up of what happened in the past.
Mr. O'Neill?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Mace. I now recognize Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania for 5
Is she
minutes.
trying to be like?
Thanks to the witnesses for being here.
Sorry. Are they just trying to be anti-populist? Like, is that the move here?
Maybe. I
Or
don't
sorry,
know.
not anti-populist, populist.
Yeah, yeah.
What was I saying?
Sorry,
are the people that are trying to put blame on the elites and the government being anti-populist? Like, okay, no, they're being populist right
Yeah.
now. But also, is that like, I guess that is the general like administration's angle right now. So insincere right now. You're in a literal courtroom and you're like, I don't know what her role was, but
I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't know
what?
what the role of any of these people are, really, if I'm being completely honest. They're just there.
Doyle
I
says all my
assume they're
homies hate the
important.
Great Schism.
Hmm?
One of Doyle in chat says all my homies that hate the Great Schism.
So true. Yeah.
Great to see it.
To Dr. Kinszer and Mr. O'Neill, I want to focus on the information that we do have and things of that nature. Do we know of, can you name the locations, say the prisons, the hospitals, other institutions, and the cutouts as you described, either one of you folks described them, that would be familiar to us or the American people? Can you name these?
Yeah, if I could begin just by saying, at the end of the 1977 hearings, Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Daniel Inouye, who were the co-chairs, demanded that there be an investigation to find out who were the perpetrators, where were the experiments conducted, and most importantly, to locate victims, compensate them, notify them, because many didn't even know they'd been experimented on, and give them lifetime medical care. President Jimmy Carter and Attorney General Griffin Bell said the federal government will begin an investigation. That never happened. Instead, the CIA created something called the Victims Task Force to investigate itself. It was a two-man investigation to locate victims, and they only looked for people who had been experimented on in the safe houses. They completely, because I interviewed both of them before they passed away, they completely avoided institutional experimental programs at the hospitals. And you're asking about the hospitals, the Oklahoma City Hospital, Lackland Air Force Base Hospital, the Lexington Addiction Center, which Dr. Kinszer referred to, the Holmesburg Prison, Vacaville Prison, universities all over the country, Yale, Ivy League universities. None of those records there was a criminal investigation was also supposed to start into Gottlieb's destruction of the records. That had been announced by the Justice Department. And I interviewed Griffin Bell and asked him what happened to all those investigations and what happened to all those efforts to locate victims. He said it just must have fallen through the cracks.
So it was the DOJ that was supposed to investigate?
DOJ, the Department of Justice, and they just kept passing it off and passing it off.
You know if the DOJ in their investigation visited the places that you've named?
No, absolutely not. From
wait, hold on a second. They didn't, or you don't know?
Oh, no, I asked the two men who did the investigation, and they said all we did was look into what happened at the safe houses in San Francisco and New York City in 1962.
So is it possible that information and documentation remains at the prisons, the treatment centers, the universities where these things were conducted? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I found Dr. West's records at UCLA in his file. Hospital records are really hard to get because of HIPAA laws, and prison records, the Bureau of Prisons do have a lot. So yeah, it is possible. There's still documents buried places.
What were the average ages, if you know, of the people that were experimented on? Were these children? Were these middle-aged? Were they?
Well, there were adolescent studies done in juvenile detention facilities and jails with kids who were 16, 17, 18 years old, and at institutional schools for wayward kids. The National Training School for Boys here in Washington, D.C. had them. So it ranged from, I think, adolescent, pre-adolescent, through any age.
If you could describe, either one of you,
I have like absolute chills right now.
Yeah. It's pretty harrowing.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like truly atrocities.
Yeah. And it is structural. Like, I think that, yeah, I mean, the more I hear, the more I just feel like pinning it all on Gottlieb or any individual scientist is just so missing the mark. Because
Yeah. I'm
these
glad
people
that
should not be hired by the government to do like that, They
this
things
seems like
shouldn't
it spans so
happen.
much more than just Gottlieb. He just seems like
Yeah.
the most marketed name.
Yeah.
And it's really
course.
just, this is all extremely depressing. I cannot like put into words how fundamentally like how the system has failed so many people in this instance and just preyed upon them.
I mean, the system, like the disgusting thing to me is that the system has always existed where where governments take advantage of people's bodies in these ways and their minds and their resources, and they abuse them and expend them and throw them away carelessly. And as technology and civilization becomes more advanced, the ways that that happens just get more grotesque. And also, it feels more and more unnecessary as time goes on. There's just less, and I don't know. It's just Warhammer 40K. It's
Yeah,
Warhammer 40K
we're getting there.
vibes.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We inch closer every day.
Yeah. And it's like in order for it to stop, that it's not that the system needs to stop abusing us. It needs to be a different system because this system abuses us. That's what it does.
Yeah.
That's what it does. And it hurts our children and our cousins and our mothers.
No, this is just like, to think that wayward homes, people who are susceptible, like extremely impressionable ages,
Yeah.
are now being targeted by the government for these experiments. Like, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone somewhere is so removed from the situation they signed off on it without.
Yeah.
And horrific atrocities occurred after.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
And it
powers that be, they depend on everyone being too overworked and tired and desperate for money to use their discernment on what they're signing off on in these situations as well. I mean, there's a tapestry of ways that they get away with this. And that's just one. But like,
it really is the banality of evil.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like, this is genuinely just a book. Wow. And the places that he mentioned, like, also, I mentioned it before, like, Kaczynski was in Harvard getting, I think he had like 2 PhD. I might be exaggerating here. There's at least 1 PhD that he got in mathematics from Harvard.
Yeah.
And this is Ted Kaczynski, you know, Unabomber. So, but he was also involved, like, he was, at least, to the extent of my knowledge, I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure. And, like, if they're targeting someone like Kaczynski, who was actually fairly mild-mannered, apparently, prior to this,
Yeah.
and then later on he ends up writing this manifesto and, like, you know, sending bombs to people, to not to people, but to, like, organizations, you know. I mean, kind of based in Minecraft, but, like, also just, like, something went fundamentally wrong here.
Yeah.
We've failed someone, and they've mailed a bomb to harm others.
Yeah.
And this is tangible. This is well known.
Yeah.
And we've failed someone who was in already, like, a very stellar position in life.
Yeah.
Going to Harvard is for mathematics is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's just like, how can we allow this sort of predation to happen? What a failure of, like, and I refuse to not take responsibility for it, even though I wasn't alive, but, like, still, to whatever extent I can take responsibility. What a failure on the part of the American government, those in power, those who vote, etc. Like, it's just,
I mean, like if more of us just like paid attention to the people right around us, we would do so much good. And it's that extraordinary good that I'm talking about. And like it's impossible to what's the word? It's impossible to enact that principle in distance. Like it becomes impossible, because then you need systems of trust, and like and it's very hard to trust anything that's far away for a number of reasons. For example, psyops exist.
Yeah.
Apparently. So anyway, but like all of us have that responsibility to be like extraordinarily good towards the people around us. And being the change you want to see in the world is such like a silly, ridiculous, like,
but it
platitude,
couldn't be more true.
But it truly couldn't be more true. And doing that kind of thing, if you are, you know, not a someone who has political power, if you're not in these, and you don't even need to be someone in political power, like what they're talking about would be, you know, people who are working at schools for wayward boys or whatever. Like if you're just in any kind of position where you are involved with vulnerable communities, you will be positively influenced and make better decisions and be that extraordinary good if you have cousins and brothers and mothers and fathers and schoolmates and friends who are being extraordinarily good in like their own little bubbles. It truly is just something that like cascades and ripples out. And it
is at the individual level that it all starts the change.
Yeah, it is. And I do believe in a humanity where it happens. I do.
I also do.
Like there's like, because I'm kind of a multiverse girly, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's a universe where it happens. Why not this one? Right?
I mean, we really do have to be those people. And it's just like, it's just deeply human empathy, man. Oh man, it freaking hurts just to hear that this happened and to know like,
yeah,
oh wow,
yeah,
someone has been fundamentally, like, their life has been destroyed.
Right.
And we have just done nothing.
And it's happened everywhere. And it just makes you think about all of the homes that you drive past, you know, the juvie centers that you drive past, and the prisons
and are they still
that
being
you drive
experimented
past.
upon in this specific instance?
Exactly.
And what are we doing? I don't know. And also, like, I think it's a very valid question that I may not politically agree with the people asking, like, do you think it's still going on? Because they seem to be very much, like, politically minded here. But also, if it is happening, it is our moral duty to stop such a thing. Because what? The genuine frick. I'm not cursing because I don't think your stream is curse friendly.
Oh,
but,
no,
like,
it's curse friendly. I said fuck earlier.
Okay.
Probably more than once.
Okay, yeah. What the genuine fuck? Like,
Yeah.
this is abhorrent behavior upon several levels of people in charge, and even those who, and I understand how finality, but also even us who are completely, to whatever extent, uninvolved, should be putting a freaking magnifying glass to this and being like, I'm sorry, you said what?
Yeah.
Hello? You said what?
Yes. I agree.
But yeah, I think we fundamentally agree on the idea that humanity should not be. Humanity has that nugget of just like beauty in it.
Yes. And it's so
And we need
clear.
to enact it more.
Yeah.
The number of potential victims, if you could hazard a guess. Is this
There were
hundreds?
149 programs that we know of that were subcontracted outside of.
149 separate programs.
So yeah, outside. And that's what we know of. Again, everything we know of is minuscule compared to what was really going on. So, I mean, that could have been into the tens of thousands. And I believe that's another reason that nothing was pursued, because if those people were compensated, it could have bankrupted.
Has there been any recent attempt to find, locate, identify victims of this?
Not that I know of.
I would just add that there's been considerable progress in this regard in Canada. There was MKUltra research going on at a psychiatric hospital in Canada, and the Canadian government has made a real effort to try to find out who the victims were, and also to compensate them and to provide them with medical treatment. So if we're looking for an example,
Canada, let's go! Canada win!
On a much smaller scale, Canada would be a place to look.
So other than embarrassment to the federal government, maybe agencies involved, and particular individuals who are probably likely deceased at this point, what is...
Dude, Canada just did that to hide their own Canada MKUltra stuff, just a virtue signal.
I'm sure Canada also has a national built off of being more virtuous than the U.S. So
it was optics.
It was probably optics. It was probably some sort of fundamental. A lot of Canadian like culture is fundamentally rooted in like a lot of Christian guilt.
Right. But also, like, sometimes virtue signals actually are tangible goods.
You know what?
So this is a
case. This is a tangible
better
good.
than
This is actually
so much better than not.
good.
Yeah.
You know what? Virtue signal has a negative connotation. This time, fucking based.
Yes, based Canada.
What is the reason for the mass redaction of the information that we do have? Has any reasoning been given?
Shame?
I'm sorry?
Shame?
That's what I'm saying, other than embarrassment, but I think it stands to reason that probably the individuals involved in conducting and authorizing this activity are probably all deceased.
Sure.
At this point. Is there any reason to believe otherwise?
No. I make those arguments in my FOIA request, but it doesn't get me anywhere. I don't know about you, Dr. Kinszer.
Oh.
All right.
These two are my favorites so far.
I'm now going to go to a second line of questions, so I'll be recognizing myself, followed by
I'm sorry, I didn't get his name, but he's been the one who's been asking the most relevant questions.
Yep.
And he's not doing some sort of weird obfuscation.
Yeah.
And also, the guy in the middle, he's not sensationalist, but
I agree.
He's extremely
he's candid,
sensible in his reactions, and also he's very articulate and kind of cutting.
Yes.
Which I think is refreshing compared to, I mean, not to say that the guy on the left is less refreshing.
Yeah, the guy on the left is a little bit more, definitely a little bit more of a sensationalist. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think not to discredit him. I think he's
I think he's doing good.
Doing his best.
Yeah.
Join in. I wanted to elaborate further, Dr. Kinszer, what you had stated about potentially there being bodies, the locations, Germany, because I'm going to reach out to the German government after this to get the ball rolling on that, if that is indeed the case. Can you just elaborate further on what you were hearing from people in the area, what they were saying, and then also to potential locations of bodies?
First of all, the memo that Chancellor Adenauer received is on the record. You can find that memo warning that these operations are going on. I did speak to people who lived in that area, and they all understood. Some of them cooperated with an investigation by a German magazine, Der Spiegel, that called that house the CIA torture center. And in that article, it said there were deaths, but the number is not known. So it was a secret to us. But what we were doing in that house was really not even a secret to the people in the neighborhood. It reminds me of the bombing of Cambodia. It was a secret to us, but if you were living in Cambodia, you would have known about it. So I think there is a fruitful ground for research looking into what happened in Germany and seeing what can be found out about these hugely destructive and devastating projects that were essentially systematic torture going on in this house and who knows how many others.
Just to confirm, too, when you found the initial transcripts with the Chancellor or correspondence, was there a response from the government?
Can we pause really quick?
No.
Who is she? What are her credentials? Why would she start a formal investigation on, like, German soil when obviously... Let's figure out what happened here first?
Yes. First, let's figure out what happened here. Second of all, so part of the problem is that we were on German soil doing stuff, but also, like, maybe we should stop doing things on German soil.
Yeah, just a...
Yeah. Poor German soil.
I mean, they've committed their own atrocities, but also,
yes, obviously.
Genuinely, like, the fact that this is turning into, like, okay, because I see the, like, weird tribalism, factionalism, like, popping up, and I'm just like, no, get back to the humanitarian aspect.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yes.
Like, you're trying to point fingers. No, this is a flaw in you, the representatives. Fix it.
Yep.
The U.S. government would possibly have advised Adenauer not to pursue it, but I don't think Adenauer would even need to be told that. He would see it, he would understand his close partnership with the United States, made it impossible for him to criticize anything the U.S. was doing. Don't forget, this was not so long after the end of the Second World War. So, no, there was no effort by the United States ever to reveal anything about what happened in Germany. And in fact, one of the FOIA requests that I made that was never fulfilled, and one that I would urge you to pursue, is what was Sidney Gottlieb doing during 2 years in Germany? He went to Germany and went to live there as a case officer. I was never able to find out what did he do during 2 years in Germany. There were huge numbers of MKUltra experiments going on in Germany, including a number that were fatal. That would be a very interesting catch of documents to find.
We will definitely be following up. My next question would be for either Dr. Kinszer or Mr. O'Neill. Declassified CIA records have revealed that officers deployed overseas have used USAID funding as an official cover, or USAID as an official cover for operational work that had nothing to do with the mission of USAID, i.e. humanitarian aid, medical relief, etc. In some cases, CIA officers operated under USAID cover engaged in lethal activity in places such as Vietnam, running assassination missions, during the war in country from 1965 to 1975, and since MKUltra seems to have found its origin in drug experiments conducted on prisoners overseas and first by the SS in Nazi Germany and then by US intelligence in camps captured from the Germans, do you believe that USAID may have been used overseas to further influence or further the MKUltra, for example, on prisoners of war? Since part of USAID's mission was to administer drugs to the poor and needy populations, would the organization have abused its mandate by poisoning foreign populations or creating dissociative states for interrogation or torture?
I can't speak directly to AID, but it's certainly true that during this period, after the Second World War, the United States was using publicly announced and official U.S. government agencies to carry out covert action. We now know, for example, that 5% of all of the money appropriated for the Marshall Plan was diverted for covert activities. A number of U.S. agencies were used as cover by covert operatives, and that AID could have been one of them sounds very likely to me.
And the NIMH admitted to allowing itself to be used for covert funding of MKUltra experiments in the 1970s when the operation was disclosed.
Thank you. I now recognize Representative Burchett for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you all for being here. I remembered when all the talk about MKUltra broke, and then they were talking about lawsuits, and there were lawsuits, and CIA and the federal government said that this didn't exist, and then they came back and said, well, it does exist, and then, but we're not doing it anymore. I guess my question to y'all first is...
Okay, everyone, just for fun, just as an experiment.
Louisianian?
No, I don't think he's from Louisiana. I just want us to I just want us to hear him all in one time speed. Just for like 5 seconds.
Which lie do we believe? I guess my question, well, it does exist, and then, but we're not doing it anymore. I guess my question to y'all first is, which lie do we believe?
Okay, that's it. That's all I needed.
Thank you.
Also, snaps.
Obviously, there was an open bar before this thing started, so thank y'all. But Dr. Kinszer, hit your mic, brother. You're on the mic. It's an old CIA trick.
I'm sorry,
I put myself in the place of one of those senior CIA.
Too funny. His tone was too funny. I missed what he said.
He was saying the question is, what lie do we believe?
What lie do we believe about like whether like MKUltra existing, how much of it existed, like what actually happened?
Yeah.
I mean, we're really getting into conspiracy territory at this point, because like who knows how many documents have been destroyed.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point of it. I want to hear his question in full too again, though.
CIA and the federal government said that this didn't exist, and then they came back and said, well, it does exist.
Yeah.
And then, but we're not doing it anymore. I guess my question to y'all first is, which lie do we believe?
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah.
And I guess the answer is probably neither.
Right. And like none of these people know either. Like these people are just researchers who went through all of the public information and like became experts on it.
Yeah, and now they're talking about it publicly, which thank God.
Yeah.
But like this is just so like I now I feel like this is a bit of a bread and circus question, because I think it is kind of funny that you said it. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, sure. But MKUltra did exist. Stuff might still be happening. We don't know.
Yeah.
But also, the question is not like what lie do we believe? It's like, how can we move forward to make sure that this never happens again?
Right. And you know what would help us come to a conclusion is more women in power.
I agree.
Because here's the thing. Anytime I talk about more women in power, people will bring up bad women in power and be like, what about this person? So okay. The problem is that those women were still playing a man's game. But if we had enough women in power that we were playing a woman's game at the level of Congress, I think the world would change for the better.
I think honestly everyone would just be in like a nice.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean no men. It just means that the men would be playing a woman's game in the same way that most women in power right now are playing a man's game, unfortunately.
I'm just like, I find it just so... this is so deeply, deeply disturbing, and also that, why can't we just ask the question of like, okay, we don't know, because like he's asking like a redundant question here. We don't know what's going on still. We obviously don't know. None of these people know. They said it multiple times. We don't know if it's still going on. That's your job. It's your job to find out. Why are you asking them?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just looked down at my cat, and she's like laying on her back with her belly up, just like staring at me. And I also feel like this video, it has like devolved into like a little bit of partisan nonsense, some moments of like really good interesting factoids, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm starting to burn out, I think. I'm starting to burn out for the night. I'm starting to burn out on this hearing.
Same. Do you want to end on a positive note?
Yeah, my cat's adorable.
Your cat is adorable.
Everyone, my cat's adorable. Wish you could see her, but she's all the way down there.
Okay. What's a positive note?
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Hulkzilla, thank you for gifting 10 subs. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Play more women in power. That's what we need. Also, I want to say, you know, I say this kind of because it's my idea of paradise and heaven, and it's like distant.
Thank you, Hulkzilla.
Thank you, Hulkzilla.
Hulkzilla also gifted. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you.
Yippee!
Yippee! Thank you. Yeah, I say the women in power thing partially because it's like a distant paradisio sort of idea to me. I enjoy having my I enjoy choosing my scapegoats and choosing my paradisios cognizantly so that they don't happen accidentally within myself. But I do know that they are all a little bit like delusional.
Well, no, actually, there's historical precedent for this.
I know.
I keep using
like
this word.
There's a lot of
the Minoans.
I have it right here. I have it right next to me.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, this book talks about like Neolithic societies which were more I can't think of the right word right now. Gender equitable, not patriarchal nor matriarchal, but women generally made up the priest class, and it was a time of just a lot more stability, a lot more of search for equilibrium, some might say, rather than progress. And the thing that disrupted it was these societies usually being like cultured or colonized or
taken over.
Yeah, taken over by the pastoralists, by the horse pastoralists, usually.
/sleepy ticket 2045.
Oh, we're running 2045. Go.
What does that mean?
We're running for. Oh, Mr. Bondu, what the heck?
We are running for 2045.
We're running, yes.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Thank you, Mr. Bondu. Yeah, no. Minoans were Bronze Age society, but also taken out by the Phoenicians.
Yes.
We don't know because also that was during the Bronze Age collapse, and we lost basically all the information, blah, 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 but also, once again, probable, female priest class there. We're not sure because most of the stuff is in linear A, and we read it, and it's just balls. It is so.
Yep.
And I want to know linear A is so bad.
Dude, me too.
Give one thing
linear. You know, maybe this is slightly a positive note that's kind of more practical. I think like one really, really good Mr. Bantu, thank you for gifting subs too. 5 subs. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Slightly practical positive note is that if there's one good thing that will come from AI, I think that it's help with understanding dead languages and translation generally across the board. I think that there's going to be a great democratization of like foreign languages that comes with AI, and I think that is actually valuable and perhaps a good application. And
the Phoenicians are a Roman psyop to justify the invasion of Tunisia. Wake up, sheeple, says Doyle. Oh my God.
Yeah, good. Yeah. It's a very tiny and specific thing that AI can do without, doing a whole bunch of other stuff that we don't want it to.
Oh wait, sorry, John, you're right. It's Mycenaeans, not Phoenicians. You're right. That probably took out the Minoans. We're not sure.
Gotcha.
Because once again, Dark Ages.
Gotta love them.
And you know the Dark Ages. You
know
the Dark Ages. You want to go in a little because my chat. This is where I have knowledge from you and a bit of knowledge myself, but this is where you shine brightest in researching and also just general knowledge on archiving during these time periods?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the Dark Ages. I mean, I think so. There's two Dark Ages. There's two things that people call the Dark Ages. One of them is like much older, and then one of them is so the first person who called something the Dark Age was Petrarch, and Petrarch said it, and when talking about like the early 1400s, which is kind of after what a lot of people call the Dark Ages, which is like something that maybe ended around like the 11th. Some people say that the Dark Ages ended like in the around 1000 or 1100, and then Petrarch called the Dark Ages like the early-ish 1400s. So there's two different Dark Ages. One of those things is the Dark Age that Petrarch was talking about, which was like the predecessor to the Renaissance. And he said, and he was like, oh, we live in a dark and dismal age. I hope that Petrarch was trying to, in a very Machiavellian way, before Machiavelli was even there, he was trying to say, like, let's bring about the age of light. Yeah, he was saying, like, I have resources, I have money, what can I do to manufacture a better world and take us out of this dark and dismal age where all of my friends are dying of the Black Death? Petrarch was a very sad boy because all of his friends died.
All my friends are dead.
Yeah. All his friends died, and then he had like two friends that were still alive who were on their way to visit him, and he was so excited to finally see his two good friends again after so long, and then they got attacked by bandits on the way and died. And then his heart broke, and he was like, we live in a dark and dismal age. What can I possibly do with my power and resources? Because all my friends are dead. Because of the Black Death and because of bandits. So that's one Dark Ages. And then the other Dark Age, which you were talking about, is the textual Dark Age, which happens when papyrus starts to break and crack and wither away, and there's now pirates in the sea who are taking away all the papyrus, who are like buying and stealing all the papyrus, and ruining the papyrus trade. So the only thing that people can write on is leather, sheepskin usually, which is much, much, much more expensive. And so people can't write as much. And so the only people who can afford to copy books, whether with hard to acquire papyrus or with very expensive sheepskin, are in monasteries, and they're monks. And they're not trying to censor history. They're not trying to erase old texts, but they are copying what they have time to copy and what they generally care about. And so the only texts that we have from that age tend to be, rewritings of church fathers and rewritings of homilies and rewritings of religious texts, because that's what people cared about. And papyrus withered away. And these people with resources didn't think of it as their responsibility to protect older texts and to put forth the effort to preserve a lot of stuff, because they had other priorities, and that's how we lose memory. And human memory is fragile. Do you know your grandmother's birthday? You know?
Yes.
If that's good.
Yes, it's June 21st.
That's very, very good.
And she is no longer with us, but
yeah.
Shout out to you, Mimi.
Shout out to you. You have a beautiful granddaughter. But like all of these things are our responsibilities, and maybe something even like more real. And I'm asking this to chat is like, what did your grandmother care about? Like, do you remember how your grandmother would have wanted to influence society? Because we all have dreams and visions for the world, and it's actually on us. It's actually on us to like listen to our elders and remember them and keep their memories and their stories alive. Because if we don't do it, they will be forgotten.
Yes,
they just will be. No one
Listen to the
cares.
person, the archivist.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, over here.
No one cares about like your mom. Like I wish that we all cared about each other's mothers and that we all read each other's life stories, but generally the world doesn't care. So it's really on us to keep every single precious thing we have, that if we want it to stay alive, we have to write it down. We have to put it on a wall. We have to frame it. We have to go to a frame shop in our area and talk to a framing expert and ask them, like, how do we make sure these colors are preserved? Because it will all wither away and it will all then be forgotten if we don't do that. And
especially if you got it through Temu.
Especially if you got it through Temu. Yeah.
Which still scares me too much to use it.
That's fair.
It's too overwhelming. But Luxilla said, Grand King, thank you, you my lovely.
Yes, everyone go follow TropicalStuck on Twitch and YouTube. Would you like to like elevator pitch yourself to my audience at all?
Sure. So hi. You guys might recognize me from the video between Athena and which you can guess who. It's not a hard guess, but yeah, no. I did an ASMR. Was sorry, I keep pointing over here. I need to point over here. The loveliest person. And yeah, no. Met her in Toronto. She's been nothing but absolutely fantastic things, and I have a YouTube channel releasing a video soon on but I have a YouTube channel on philosophy and general primers, but it's essentially just I think like academically a lot of philosophy is gatekept, and I want it to be brought back to the people because it was originally intended for it should be for the people. Therefore, I take really dense academic texts. I go do a lot of live streams where I read them, and then like usually dog on me. We'll play 3 rounds of GeoGuessr, and then afterwards readings for a bit. But I'll yap with chat for a while. But also I have a video on Nick, famously extremely dense, and I did a video on it. I made it very zoom. It's I've just gone from corporate to full-time art, so if you guys feel like supporting, it would be much appreciated. Because, like me with this new scenario and paying rent, and I've had a lot of help from Sleepy so far, and Sleepy's just a fantastic person. So you guys can thank you so much. It means the absolute world, and yeah, excited to see more of you and do more collabs. Wait, pointing over here.
Nah, pointing over here. I'm gonna link your Nick Land video in chat just because I think it's so freaking good.
Thank you. Thank you. The next video is coming out soon. Soon, hopefully. But here, let me shout you out as well, even though I think everyone in my chat knows. Ooh. Thank you for the follow.
Alright. There you go. Yes, everyone go check out TropicalStuck's Nick Land video. I do think it's a great place to start, just to get a grasp of the vibe, and as the king described, the Zoomer-friendly editing and the easy summary of very dense, annoying texts that no one wants to read.
Yes, I read 552 pages, or sorry, 452.
Yes.
Among other smaller texts, but that was Fanged. I know it's pronounced Numina, but it's not. I call it Numina. It was horribly dense, and I read it on stream, and it was a time.
Yeah.
But everyone in chat kept it fun, and honestly, it was really nice to have a video out that was a simplification of someone who is notably. Oh, thank you for the follow. Mad Cardi and Captain Zero. Yeah, no. Philosophy is honestly just actually really fun when you get down to it, like the nitty-gritty. And it's just like it's fun, and there are a lot of like philosophers that are really goofy. Like Wittgenstein used to have the same sandwich every day. And whenever he received it, he would say things like hot diggity. Like it's just like there are these fun little anecdotes. Oh, thank you. But yeah, no, it's just philosophy should be fun and it should be for the people and it should be. I never got to know how much I liked it growing up because I had like pretty teachers that were not super fond of philosophy. But when I went to university, I had professors that were super, super into it. And they were the ones who took the extra time with me and were like, you seem like a little pedantic. You might like this.
Absolutely.
And they really they spent the time with me and showed me the ropes and they made me realize just how much like I really do love these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
And also I get to have these discussions, meet people like you. Wait, pointing over here.
Yeah. Wait, we can high five each other.
Yes, wait, hold
Wait, oh God. Oh, wait. Oh, gosh. I'm so bad. Oh, my God.
on. Over here. Yeah, wait, I think I got it.
There we go.
We got it. Yes.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Be the change that you want to see in the world. We're signing off. Farewell.
Yes.
Good night.
Goodbye, all.
Goodbye, all.